All right, hello and welcome to the Crackdown episode 29. I can't believe we've done almost 30 of these already, but yeah, Crackdown episode 29. Today we have Kobbe on from Misfits, formerly TSM. We probably won't mention that at all throughout the show, so don't worry, guys. We're going to keep it all on this one split in Misfits. We got Thorin here, known to not enjoy talking about TSM at all as well, so definitely no TSM will be talked about here. We're just going to keep it on this split. So, because that is the vibe, let's just talk a little bit about, and obviously this is sarcasm, but let's talk a little bit about Misfits right now. You joined the
real topic you want to talk about, first of all, Dom.
What?
I can see into your heart, son. The first question you really want to ask Kobbe about, because basically, eventually, he sort of must have agreed with you, is why the fuck the Dardoch thing? Where was Dardoch? Why was Dardoch in a prison for the whole time? The whole time, right? Everyone was just gaslighting us that this DOS guy is way better. Listen, I'm not hating. I just didn't think he looked very convincing. And we were always being told, like, you had some say in it, Kobbe. So should we just address that right out of the gate and get out there?
Yeah, sure. I asked that to like 15 different guests.
Exactly. So we're going to ask the guy himself, right?
Yeah.
I guess, that's pretty good to clear up because there's been like a lot of Reddit rumors and stuff about this. So, I mean, I came into the team and basically they just did tryouts for like jungle and support position, which means like we go a week where the main team is Screaming Academy team and we're swapping support and jungle every time.
Mm-hmm. Even Dardoch was having to try out for the position again?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And
that's crazy to me.
I didn't really follow EU too closely since I was in NA, right? So I didn't really know who was best. So from what I saw during the tryouts, I was like, there was no clear difference, honestly. I think DOS played pretty well in the tryouts. It's not like Dardoch didn't play well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they just, I don't know, collective decision made it. Like, I don't think DOS was playing badly, so it's not like when I heard it that I was super against it,
Yeah, but it wasn't your final call. Like, you weren't the guy, because obviously people thought it was like you duoed with him or something, and you were like, "Oh, give me this guy" or something like, something like that.
That somehow became the narrative, was that you were friends with DOS. You had played with him before, and you guys had that Danish synergy or something.
No, like obviously we're both Danish, but I didn't really play with him before. So they asked my opinion. I said, from what I've seen, I think both players are good. I explained them the strengths and weaknesses of both players, but I think that it was more, I'm not sure how to say it, but it's easier for them to see what's going to be better for the team than me, since they have a split already, and I'm only here for 1 week. Like, I liked what I saw from both, and based on the tryouts, I think DOS played better, but I had like no idea what's going to be better for the team, right? So the final decision was not mine, but it's like, you can blame me, you can praise me, whatever for it. It's everyone was like in on the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. And I think he was doing well, DOS, like for like scrims, and just in the beginning as well. We got a lot of wins through playing around bot lane, and then something happened around the break and we went on our losing spree. I think he started losing confidence or something and had some rough games in the...
Yeah, he ran it down. Yeah, he ran it the fuck down.
I had some rough games in the official matches, and then when we lost 4 games in a row, we decided, okay, it's really not working. We have to try something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically that.
One thing I'm confused by, I mean, listen, I know you were only just joining the team, but maybe they gave you a reason, is why also a jungle role were they doing tryouts? Because if people don't know, I just looked it up now. The Misfits premier jungler is Kire, who obviously got actually some time in the team last year. But the thing about him is, he's someone who's been around that level, like, a long time now. Kobbe will know this. He's been around the scene for years and years, just always on the outskirts. So, like, it's not like he's like a brand new guy you're testing out. Like, was there a reason they were testing out? Because a lot of people thought Dardoch was pretty good last split,
Yeah, I mean, that's like, he got rookie of the split, and both him and Dardoch, they supposedly played really well that split. I say supposedly because I haven't followed it, but
yeah, sure. You were in that.
But yeah,
they did.
But I think for the jungle position, it was more of like a pressure, or just to give Razak more
motivation.
I'm missing the word here, like motivation in a way. Because he had a pretty good performance, but they would just like to see like more fire from him, basically.
Really?
Like, put in more work, so just put some pressure, I think, something like this.
I just feel like that's so crazy to me, because I mean, the guy was like rank 1 in solo queue, like he was rookie of the split, looked like he was doing well in all the games. So I wonder why they like thought there was a lack of motivation, or was it like lack of motivation to, you know, take scrim seriously? Like, I wonder what exactly was the motivation, because from like the outside perspective, you see a player that's grinding the fuck out of solo queue and they're also doing well in LEC. You assume that everything's going right in terms of like their, you know, motivation to be the best in the league.
Yeah, and I think it also came as a surprise to them, because obviously it was their first split for both Denig and Razork in the spring, and they did pretty well. They made it to playoffs, got a rookie of the split. Both had like decent performances, so like I can't really speak for them, but I'm pretty sure that they were also like surprised that after that they're getting tryouted, you know.
Does Denik have good English? I realise, listen, actually, if people don't know, the area he comes from, usually they're pretty fluent, but I just have to ask just in case. You know, does he have good English?
He has decent English, yeah. He's like what he's good at. He's like a loud voice in game, and yeah, I have no trouble understanding him. So
yeah, I felt like Denik was like a little bit out of sorts. Like I expected a better performance when he came in. He looked definitely like a step down from where he was in spring, and it made me feel like maybe if he just had the whole summer split, if he didn't have that huge break in playing like the stage matches, like he could have just performed at the same level as he did in spring. But like I thought that it was like, I mean, obviously like there was some games that were pretty rough for him when he came back.
I mean, the first game he had like 8 deaths, but he still did some work and we got the win, right? But I honestly feel pretty bad for him, like just given the whole thing, and like when he got subbed in again, it's really, really damn hard to make a difference at that point with like 2 weeks left, and people are tilted, stuff like this, and it's just too hard for one person to turn it all around. So, and on top of that, it's like the whole team has to adjust to a new player now, right? So yeah, that was pretty rough on him, but I was honestly happy, like when he came in. I think he has a lot of good qualities, and yeah, I just feel kind of bad for him. But it's, you can say the same about Dust, right? Has some rough games, he gets subbed out, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they both kind of look similar in the end, so I don't think you could really like say that the team would have been better one way or the other based on like how it turned out for the split. But one thing that I thought would be really interesting to ask you, because I believe you're the only player that's played in both leagues this season, LEC and LCS, is like how much higher is the level of LEC compared to LCS? Like, do you feel it as a player? Is it just like another fucking world? Like, how does it actually, like, what was the experience of playing in both?
Well, the thing is, like, I watched a bit of NA here in summer as well, and it looks like the level is higher than in spring, because in spring I think the level was like just terrible, to say the least. Like, I think we were even terrible, and we got 4th place. I think only Cloud9 had like an actual really good level. So obviously the difference was huge when I got here, and I mean, even though teams like G2 and Fnatic were kind of slumping, the level was still higher, I felt. But I don't want to oversay it as well, because I think spring was like an exception. I do believe NA is better now, but better than EU, probably not.
So what makes you actually believe that NA is better now? Is it just the fact that Cloud9's dropping games? You have like these other teams that are competing with Cloud9. Like, is that where you're drawing your comparison, or are you just watching the games and you think like the overall just macro is better, the decisions and, you know, like laning phase, etc.?
I'm just watching the games, and I think teams like Liquid and TSM, they look better. They look like decent teams at the very least, and that's not something I could say in spring split, because there was Cloud9, and then second place team, whoever the fuck that was, EG, Fly, TSM, whoever it was, I would say this team is really bad. But I don't feel like it's the same now. I feel like you have 2 or 3 like decent teams at least.
Yeah, that's something I would definitely agree with this. Like, it's not just about Cloud9 losing, because listen, if the top team loses, obviously it's going to make it by the standings look more competitive. But I would agree, if you just look at the way that the teams who were like, when Cloud9 was number 1, if you looked at the teams that were 2, 3, and 4 in both the splits, summer split looks way better. Like the TSM that he was talking about was the one that everyone used to say should be the second best, but then half of the games they would just be shit. The other half they'd look really good, then they just look terrible in the other ones. Then you had, obviously, like he said, Evil Geniuses, they were mad up and down. FlyQuest, like, the problem with FlyQuest is they're just like the team that you're supposed to feel good about if they're like the 4th best team. Like, oh wow, congrats, yeah, you guys are sort of doing it. You'll never win, but yeah, good, well done, yeah. But if they're your second best team, fucking hell, like that end of that split was a mad indictment on how bad it was. Whereas like I've been saying all the time, everyone loves to say that Team Liquid, like, they were winning all these close games. Yeah, if that was actually a team you liked, you'd just say they were clutch, you fucking disingenuous motherfuckers. Like, when you win all the games that are close, guess what? You're really good. That's actually a fucking sign that you're good. I get that, like, certain parts, like, for example, with their team, you could obviously say their early game was shit. They weren't doing anything with the jungler. I'm with you on that, but, like, they still had strengths. There's a reason why no one can fucking kill them in the late game.
Yeah. I've been, like, up and down on TL. Like, when you look at TL and, like, how they're playing right now, the fact that they don't have a consistent early game and that they kind of just win by having like better players mid to late, I feel like is super worrying, because when you play against like the top teams in the world, where you look at like the people that are gonna be their competitions at like just even in EU, you can look at a team like Rogue or Mad Lions, and they do have solid early games. Like their junglers are extremely active on the map, and you could just tell that they're like progressing the game. They're way better at accelerating the game than TL. Whereas when you see TL, even when TL plays like a shit team, like a dead last team, like they did last week, they played Immortals.
They didn't stomp anyone. Yeah, let's be real.
Yeah, it is literally just a snooze fest for the first 45 minutes of the game, and, you know, they're almost throwing the game. I mean, surely they end up winning, but, I mean, beating a bunch of rookie players in a close 45-minute game, I feel like is almost expected, and it just doesn't give you a lot of confidence when you watch the other regions and you just compare it. So I guess that's why people are low on Team Liquid. I'm nervous for NA. I mean, maybe I'm just North American and I've been let down so many goddamn times that I just refuse to have any type of hope at this point. But when I look at our region, it looks pretty doomed going into Worlds. Like, the only hope I have is if, like, Cloud9 get back on form, that they could maybe do some damage. That's the only hope I have.
Yeah, but the thing is, Dom, here's the factor that everyone keeps forgetting, which is why you can actually have hope that Cloud9 could get their form back, is in the playoffs, especially if they ever end up in the lower bracket, you can play as many games in the playoffs in NA now as you did in the entire regular split. So you got a lot of time to get your shit together. You might play like 3 or 4 best-of-5 series. So actually, in theory, everything could change. That's the stupidest thing. And the patches are all going to change. Like, to me, there's so many extra reasons now. Now it's like a real postseason, like hockey or fucking basketball. It's not like the old one. Like, remember when you first started playing and it was like... Yeah. Dude, you had to win like 2 best-of-3s and you were in the final, or 1 if you'd already had the seed. Like, that was ridiculous.
Yep. Hey, I mean, that was so weird, because best-of-3s felt like, how often do you see a team go up 2-0 and they get reverse swept? You'd come out and like play 2 matches or play the first 2 games, have 2 different strategies. You could just play poorly one game, get like, you know, shit on in draft the next, and it's like, all right, go home. That's it. There was no lower bracket or anything. So
see ya. Oh, along those lines, though, do you have any thoughts on that then, Kobbe? Since you've played in the 2 regions recently, is there something about the way that they use the junglers in LCS, or how in NA they envision the jungler? Because one of the things that we've also noticed on a lot of talk shows that's very weird is, listen, people used to flame the junglers in NA anyway, but dude, this split, 2 of the top 3 teams, their junglers are Broxer, who hasn't had the greatest split, and then Spica, who... I mean, even TSM fans still flame. So, like, it doesn't seem like you really need a jungler in any. Like, how do you think they use the jungler? Is it different from EU?
I mean, I only played in TSM, right? But it's like a theory I have that, like, from talking to other players, that the jungler is more there to help the laners, basically. Whereas you don't really have these players that just take over the whole early game alone. Like, I think a lot of EU junglers can, where they come into the game, they tell their game plan, what they want to do, their shot calling, what they want their laners to do. And I feel like it's kind of opposite for a lot of teams in NA, but again, it's just a theory. So maybe that's why. That's like the biggest difference, I would say, at least.
Well, I would say...
That fits with some stuff that other people have said, right, Dom? I'm pretty sure a lot of people have said something along those lines.
Yeah, I've heard that too. And then I also just think that fits really well with Broxah, like, as a player, right? Because his whole criticism in EU was that, you know, he was kind of just a like servant to the laners. He would just do what the laners wanted him to do. If that's like his preferred playstyle, it makes sense that he came to NA instead of EU. Since we were talking about junglers from NA, you did play with Dardoch. You know, we've heard a lot of conflicting opinions. I've actually heard personally that he was like pretty difficult to work with.
Was he whiling?
Yeah, to say the least. Whiling? Yeah. What was he whiling? Like,
essentially.
Like, I mean, I actually liked him. Like, I thought he was a really cool guy to hang around with.
Okay.
But it's fair to say that we didn't have the best of synergy, like mainly between him and our support, or just bot lane in general. That was like the biggest disconnect in our team, I would say. And yeah, I mean, I think he was more like what you would say as an EU jungler. I think he's really confident. He knows what he wants to do, and if he has those games, he can take over, right?
And did Bifrost have a different vision in mind for the game? Did he want to play a bit safer or something? What was the disconnect?
No, I mean, the biggest disconnect in the team was just like in terms of how vocal people are or how vocal people think you need to be. There was like me and Bifrost on one side and basically the three others on the other side.
As in you weren't talking as much?
Basically, yeah. Or the way you're talking as well had to be different to something I just didn't agree with, right? I tried to change, but it was really hard for me. So
as in they want you to sort of like verbalize everything you do and everything, thinking what we're going to do next or something.
Exactly, yeah. And it was something that didn't really make sense to me because we established a team identity of like BrokenBlade carrying a lot of games early on, which is why like it didn't make sense to me that I have to be so loud in the game and call for a lot of things that just doesn't make sense. If like the draft was suited towards it or it was something with like we had a goal of doing, then it was fine for me. But that was the biggest issue, I would say, yeah. And that's also, I mean, I'm just kind of sad it didn't work out because now I'm watching, like I watched the TSM Legends episode lately where they're like talking about the comms and stuff like this, and it seems like they finally figured it out, like stuff I was saying when I was there, but it seemed like they were not really willing to change to that direction.
Yeah.
But now they are, so that's just a bit confusing to me.
Yeah,
this is actually a topic we could get into because this is something that I want to know what Dom thinks of this. Actually, I've noticed this in esports in general. There is this trend that in American teams, right? First of all, the way I noticed it was Americans generally in esports were always the ones who the whole philosophy of the team was that everyone had to be hype and everyone had to be like shouting, and it was all about like pumping each other up and be going like, we're gonna beat them and like screw, together, like yeah. And so every single kill in Counter-Strike they were going woo, and they were high-fiving. And by the way, I know now, obviously this is just my being a boomer, but I know now everyone in the world just has to give a high five after every single thing in esports because we're all the NBA now. But back then that was weird, believe it or not. It was only Americans who did like a hand slap, even after you lost the round, just to be like, hey, it's still fucking you do, like let's keep riding or whatever. I don't know. that was my own I know. It wasn't bad, was it? So anyway, though, that actually bleeds over though, dude, into like actually shot calling aspects, because one of the things that's very interesting is in Counter-Strike and most elite games I've seen, that's also the philosophy, is Americans want everyone to talk all the time, and then they think if we all talk, that's how we're all going to have all the information and make the decisions and figure it out. Whereas that's actually very unusual, because if you go and look at the best European teams in the history of the game, in most games, League of Legends and CSGO, they tend to actually be teams where they just talk when it's necessary. Yeah. Like sometimes people aren't talking at all. And so some of those moves that G2 might not be a great example because they are a very vocal team, but you can see some of the mic check moments of some teams. There's very minimal things being said, but they're all making the movements on the map. They're all doing the right thing. They can't. Yeah. It's kind of more like the philosophy is like you're expected to know what you're going to do. Like I don't have to tell you everything I want you to do. Like that's what practice was for. So I kind of get where Kobbe. That's like a culture clash there. Like I would be uncomfortable if I was a guy just used to take care of my role and I know how to do my job.
Yeah, exactly. That was the biggest problem for me, right? Because I came from a place where, like it just became really, really fucking comfortable for me to play the game because everyone knew me and everyone said what they wanted from me, and I was able to provide that. But when I came to TSM, it was always the same issue after every game. They say they don't know what I'm thinking. I need to be calling this and this, and I'm just like, but
who's this? My fucking girlfriend or something? What are you thinking? How are you thinking about the other woman, aren't you? No, just fucking thinking about how much
to me it's like
sausage it is.
Like I didn't realize I need to say these things because to me it's like, I don't know how to put it in that way, but these things are obvious, and I feel like I shouldn't. It will only hurt my play to keep saying these things, and that's where we just kept clashing. And I really tried to change because that was the only way to move forward. And I think in playoffs, I tried really hard because I just wanted to win, right? Regardless of all the shit that happened. And in playoffs, I tried really hard to do that. And I think it was clear in some games how it suffered, just how I played. Because it makes me play worse when I have to overcompensate in communication. But
yeah, what do you think, Lord Dom?
Yeah. Well, so
the thing is, I wondered with you because you've played with a bunch of Koreans, people like Quaz weren't super vocal, right? So you must have had a different experience in some sense with the culture clash.
So my overall perception on it is I don't think that it's super necessary to talk a lot when you play League of Legends, like period. Like when you look at like some of the top teams, like IG, like there's rumors that like the Shy didn't speak any Chinese at all, and like the team is communicating in Chinese, and then Rookie every now and then would be like, yo, like this is what we're doing. But like when people are on a high level, I feel like you don't really need to communicate that much. But I think that the weirdest thing for me hearing this is I don't know who the fuck they thought Kobbe was, because like on the outside,
yeah, I mean,
like your identity in the team, right? Like if you're getting Kobbe into the team, what should the theory be? It's like, okay, we need like a strong, solid player that can play without resources bot side, and then we can send our resources to top side, and we can try to win through BrokenBlade and Perkz. Like that's why I thought the TSM was going to be strong coming into spring, is because in my mind it all made sense. So it's like you have all the pieces to the puzzle, but why are they trying to use it in this way? This seems so confusing to me.
Yeah, this is also something that I thought about recently, since Eric Treats came into the TSM lineup, and it would make, like, just player personality-wise, if I was playing with him, for example.
As well, come on, man, isn't he like Swedish or something? I can't believe
he's extremely vocal. He's extremely vocal.
That's unusual.
Yeah, he's not quiet, and I think if I would play with someone like him, it would make my life 10 times easier, and the team's life 10 times easier. But the pairing of like me and Bifrost was just not good.
Yeah, but
it really hurt the team.
Yeah, that could never happen anyway, though, because of import rule, though. Because right, like he's an import, you're an import, and
that's what I realized as well when I started thinking about it. But
it's almost like European players just are better. It's crazy. Like that's it's almost if TSM had even more imports, it would be better. Like crazy.
But yeah, because like Bifrost is not like the most vocal of player you can find, that just made my life even harder, and probably his as well, because as for someone like him, playing with Doublelift will obviously be easier. And that's just where I think the things didn't mesh. Like that's where I feel like I had to overcompensate in terms of communication, because if he wasn't doing it, then no one was. And opposite as well, like he's probably thinking the same. If I'm not doing it, then he has to do it, right? Just someone has to do it.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the team right now, and then just like when you used to play before, like pairing you with Biofrost, obviously you're not going to get most communication. And just thinking about Biofrost as a player, I thought it was so strange that the season before, previously, it was with CLG. In season 9, there were all these like videos that came out where it's like, yeah, we're gonna try to make Biofrost the shot caller and all this shit. And it's like, wait, this guy doesn't speak. Why do you want him to be a shot caller? I feel like if you need communication from your bot lane, that's also a poor mismatch. Like I don't know, like the whole meme about like Perkz scouting everyone. You know, it's like, oh shit, Perkz scouted this guy, Perkz scouted that guy. But when you look at the actual scouting and the pairings, if you really think you need a vocal bot lane, why are you getting Kobbe and Biofrost? Why is that your idea of like, yes, this is going to be our bot lane that's going to fucking talk the whole game? Like, if you want a vocal bot lane, like there's people that are known for speaking a lot, like in that role. Like honestly, Doublelift is somebody who spoke a lot, but I guess right now the whole problem still relied on communication. So it seems like maybe they just tried to, you know, pin it on the AD when really it was a support issue. And just
it had to be one of us, right? And now it's both of us. So located the issue and target us out pretty fast. But I mean, it's not like they could go back on you. Like maybe if Biofrost was the issue, like if you were still in the team, there would be a chance to bring you back. But at this point, it's like, okay, well, maybe Biofrost is just the issue in communication. And based on his gameplay, I still think he's like a strong player. I mean, if you look at him in Academy, he looks like an LCS player smurfing in Academy right now. But for sure.
Yeah, I just...
Also, is anyone going to flame Kobbe for TSM in spring when they had to change 3 of the fucking players? Like, basically, there's only Perkz and BrokenBlade. And by the way, all those TSM fans are going in BrokenBlade's arse every fucking game. So at this point in time, what is it? Are we really back to the most extreme version of being a TSM fan, where there's only 3 people in the world can be trusted? Reginald, Path, and fucking Perkz. And then we all know which of those 3 gets the fucking kosh, which is Path the second you start losing. So, like, there can't be only 2 people you guys support. You either like TSM as a brand or you like the players. Like, it's got to be something you like except for just being evil.
Yeah,
whatever. I think at the end they're just be stupid.
Yeah, no, but I just talking about the team itself, we can go on that point, which is the BrokenBlade angle of it. Everyone just says this guy is like on Reddit and everything. People say that I'm a fucking, like, I'm BrokenBlade's friend. That's why I support him and stuff. But generally, I genuinely actually just think he's.
Did he boosted you in? So isn't that like the angle to go with or some shit? Like he boosted you in solo queue.
Dude, it was so weird. Like I played with him on an account of mine that was diamond. I didn't I didn't play with him on my higher account. Like I played with him on like a lower account anyway. But like the whole idea of me being friends with him is mainly what people go in on. And I think that he's actually just somebody who can take over games as a player. But right now the perception is like it's pretty much a shit on BrokenBlade every time TSM lose. What do you think about BrokenBlade as a player? Did you like playing with him? Did you think he was like a really strong player? Did you feel like his weaknesses of not being like the best on, supportive champions or something overshadowed his strengths? Like, what is your perception of him?
From when I played with him, I think he was really strong, like strong side carry player. I think he could use some work on like playing weak side, which is also why I was like early on I was very comfortable with letting the team play towards top lane, and just feel like I had to provide the things an AD carry needs to provide without having to like shot call the whole game. So I mean, I really like him, like both him and Perkz. I think they were really good players both, and I like them as well. So that's why I'm like really fucking sad it didn't work out. But yeah, I do think in spring he carried a lot of weight for our team when we played together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll clear something up actually, because I referenced this on Someone in Insight because Monty asked me about a tweet I made where I basically said I think that like BrokenBlade is overrated, but this is why. He's overrated in the context that it's something they do in every role, but if you're really good at one style in a role, people, especially if you're a brand new player, first of all, people just assume, this is the weirdest angle ever, people assume you'll just be able to learn everything else, but this is the caveat they don't add in. Equally as good. That's the part that I never understood. Like saying that a fucking Lee Sin player is going to be equally as good on like Sejuani. It's like, well, I'll wait and see, because there's been very few players who were gods on Lee Sin who were gods on Sejuani. Like there's a reason why there's a spectrum there of styles and strengths, etc. So in terms of BrokenBlade, I'm with you, Dom. When it was in the 3 previous splits, so last year and then this early split, I thought he was at times the best player in TSM. He looked very good. And when they gave him his carry picks, especially when he could play shit, like obviously when Aatrox was in the meta, etc., he would look like a monster. He would just take over games, even if he didn't get all the jungle attention. But when we've seen him have to play weak side, it was an obvious weakness of his. I mean, remember, he hasn't been a pro for that long either, so he's also like adapting to it. I'm sure in solo queue, he's probably just taking his picks and smashing everyone. It makes sense. So the one problem I have is this. It's one thing if he just has some issues playing weak side. But dude, this makes me think something which I don't think is a novel concept. TSM the org doesn't know who the fuck they recruit. They really seem to think that they're like fucking Professor Xavier's like Academy for Mutants, and they're going to teach you your power and how to get in touch with it, and that you're going to leave a different player than you came in. Because what's weird is they recruit these guys. Dude, even Bjergsen this applies to, because they recruited Bjergsen, who, by the way, if you ever met him, if people don't know, in Europe, he was the guy where he probably turned down the first 10 interview requests for every outlet.
Yeah,
and then when he
shy.
did them, he was super nervous, like, I used to get bullied in school, and you're like, Jesus, I feel sorry for this fucking guy, right? Well, your Syndra's good. Like, fuck, it was just, I've told people the story. When I heard he was going to TSM, I was like, they're going to fucking pick his bones clean. He'll be coming back in a coffin, mate. This is depressing. Like, but he made it. But I tell you what they didn't get is Reginald thought he was going to be the next Reginald. Hey, your mind, he doesn't have the mindset for that. He definitely, maybe he has now, 5 years later. Well, probably 8 years later now, but he didn't back then. So my point is, like, they seem to recruit these players and then just decide we're going to tell you how to play. Because to me, what's the point in having BrokenBlade if I've just got Double Lift back? Double Lift, as we've seen from everyone who's been a teammate of his, if we have him on this show, he really does just demand attention. By the way, rightfully so, because if he's at his peak, he can be the best. So if I'm the best AD carry, why the fuck would I want you to play top side? But if you do that, the person who's always going to give up their position is nearly always the top laner. And so BrokenBlade pretty much has to do it because all the other top laners in the world are doing it. Like, you can't look at like Alfari and all these fucking sick top lookerish and then go, I should get all the resources. It's like, the coach can argue against you. So I feel like if they're going to have Double Lift in this team, I think BrokenBlade could be like the best top laner if he was on a different LCS team, basically.
I mean, probably, yeah, but it's still, like, I don't think he's terrible at weak side. I just think he's better at carrying games, and learning different styles is like something that will be very helpful for him, and like developing him. But yeah, I mean, I thought he was better at carrying games, so that's why we went that way. And I mean, if you ask me, I played with a lot of different top laners, and most people prefer to carry games. I do as well, so it's different than playing with someone like Vishichachi, for example, where this guy I never have to worry about. My team can be bot the whole game, and this guy will be fine, right? So the only problem with that is generally in League, it's more, I'm not saying this because I'm a bot laner, but it's more beneficial to be around the bot side, especially in this meta, than in top lane.
Yeah, Dragon is super OP.
There's a Dragon, there's 2 players in bot lane.
More people to kill, yeah.
In top lane, there's 1. And I think only if you have these really insane players like the Shy, it's worth it to go top. But for most teams, it's generally better the other way.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I feel that. How do you feel about what I'm trying to say here is like the criticism in TSM, like how harsh it is, like how direct is the criticism? That's the best way to phrase it. How direct is the criticism within TSM? Because I've heard rumors that, you know, a lot of times there'll be a problem with you as a player. There'll be, but instead of like being able to like address it and try to fix it, sometimes they'll just kind of like be like, oh, well, this person can't do this person can't do that. Is this something that's actually true?
It depends who it's coming from. I think Reggie was there at times with like harsh criticism, and in our lineup, I think most of us were able to take it. But yeah, I mean, I personally don't have an issue with that. Maybe I'll show it a bit in the moment sometimes, because sometimes you're just out of it, right? But I mean, I'm trying to think about it, and I actually don't. It was like a good mix, you know, because there was like some members of the staff who were like very not direct and very vague with their feedback, and that made it harder. That made the whole culture like different, I would say, compared to, let's say it was just the players and it was being led by the players. Then I think it would have been really direct when you have like Perkz, Dardoch, even BrokenBlade, and I would be fine with that as well. So yeah.
I've basically heard that is the weird thing about TSM, is there's like 2 modes. If you're with the coaching staff, it's like if you go into an office scenario and there's never no one, your boss in a real office scenario is never going to scream at you like, you fired it. What he's going to do is he's going to use like super passive aggressive corporate speech. Like, I've called you in for your performance review here because we don't feel as though you're reaching certain metrics and we'd like you to take this different course to learn. And he's going to say it, right? But you know, really what he means to say is like, I'm really disappointed in what you've done and you failed and you need to get your shit together or I'm going to have to fire you. But he has to say it in like this very polite manner where he's having to soften the blow. So as a result, though, the impact might not be big. But then the other mode is, like Kobbe just said, entirely unprompted. And this was the same when all the players have been there. That isn't a story from like season 5 of Reginald coming in. Apparently that happens every year. So the problem is this: when Reginald used to come in and be like the drill sergeant and tell people, get your shit in order, or you're doing it wrong, or what the fuck are you doing, or even just directly confront people in front of everyone about what they're doing. The difference is they won the championship after that. So whether or not you liked it, you could go with like that Michael Jordan approach of like, well, that's just what it took to win. The problem is if you then fail, it's like, now that's entirely up for criticism. Like, you can say, is that the right approach? Because what's weird is what Kobbe just said there is what most Europeans seem to prefer. They just like it when the players are allowed to directly confront each other. So the notion is, instead of us all pussyfooting around it in case people's feelings get hurt, if Dardoch fucked up his path in and did it in a way that Kobbe doesn't understand, it's going to be a lot quicker if Kobbe just says, like, Dardoch, what were you doing with that early path? And then he can just explain it directly. Like, let's just cut the bullshit out. Like, a lot of Europeans like that, whereas as we found out many times on this show, a lot of North American players get really offended if you sort of like directly question them like that.
I mean, I agree with that, but I would also say the issue for me was like what you said about Perkz before, of like when you went on some story about when he came to NA, he was shy. I feel like for me, it was kind of the same when I came into the team. Like, I was very comfortable in Splice for 4 years. I moved continent, I moved to TSM, like the biggest brand. And I was also fucking nervous when I came in there because I was just not comfortable. And like going against other players' opinions or like the whole TSM culture, there was like things I didn't agree with, and I just didn't really feel confident enough to go against it until like too late, I think, and then it even backfired at some points because like at some point I just lost it as well. I'm like, I cannot fucking do this. You're telling me to do it. Doesn't work. So yeah, I think it would have, if I was on board as well from like week 1, then it would have made things easier as well. But I was also, as I said, just nervous coming in. So we didn't really develop that culture from the beginning. And if we did, I think we would have improved a lot faster.
Yeah, I've got a question, which is essentially it's why don't any coaches work within TSM? Because we've seen a bunch of coaches come in. We had Song come in, got fired after a split, or after a year. Zix came in, he won a bunch of championships, right? Like, people heralded him as a really great coach, gets fired after a year. Peter Zhang came in, fired after a split, and now they're just back to Perkz coaching the team. So it feels like no coaches that they've ever had work with TSM. Like, they can't find anyone, and all these coaches are semi-accomplished at least coming in, right? Like Song took Immortals, which was a 7th place team, to 2nd place to finals in the split before he joined TSM. I mentioned Zix winning championships. Peter Zhang at least, coached a team that was, carried by a jungler to a first place regular season. I mean, could just talk about that, but realistically, like, why don't coaches actually fit with this team? It seems like no one can coach it.
Well, it's a good question. I don't really have the answer for it, but what I think is it's very different what every player needs from a coach. Like, at least for myself, I feel like the coaching staff I had in Splice was like really good for me because we had a lot of different coaches. There was some I was more comfortable with than others. I could talk one-to-one, get feedback one-to-one a lot of times. And I think, as I said, it's just really different. And I don't think in a team like TSM, when you go in with 5 veterans, you don't need a guy who's going to tell you how to play the game. You just need someone that can give structure and like control discussions, come up with good points here and there. But that was not really what we had. Like, I think Peter Zhang's problem was just not being direct at all. He was like too vague with his feedback, and the players didn't like it too much. Basically, but yeah, I don't have the answer to your question. No, I'm sorry.
Do you think that any of the coaching problems stem from this idea of like, hey, if shit starts going bad, Reggie's gonna come in, kick your ass out, and like you're gonna just be pretty much like riding the bench, so to speak? Like, do you think that pressure from upper management has anything to do with the fact that coaches fail, from your perspective?
I mean, probably has something to say, yeah, for sure, because it's very few people already that can handle the pressure, and when it's this pressure, that just seems like more than anything. Like, if you fail with TSM, it's like 10 times worse than if you fail for most other teams. So yeah, that could definitely be a thing.
Makes sense. I mean, I don't know if you have any more questions on TSM, Thorn, but I'm ready to jump to LEC unless you've got something.
I think it's more just when I'm thinking about like the coaches they have in that team. I also feel like this is like essentially I kind of build this into my theory on what TSM's done with all the junglers, which is aside from Dardoch, they've always recruited people who seemed like they had the personality to be the supportive type jungler who end up getting baited into the bitch. That just fucking has to do whatever Bjergsen not says, but just wants, presumably, of what they have to think he wants on some like fucking next level. Guess what your girlfriend is thinking, because if she tells you, then she won't respect you as much, like sort of level of shit. So my problem in that scenario is I also personally think this is where Reginald just needs to get the fuck out. I told him this years ago when he was actually still winning. I told him, dude, that can only work in the short term. And if I'm being honest with you, it's only working now because you got the best players. Like, that was working, that scream at them approach to get them together at the end of the split. When you had like all the top players, I said, if you ever have a time where you don't, like, you're gonna have to have a coach that does that stuff. So one thing I feel like the TSM org, because like, look at the people they recruited. So Song, how fluent is he in English? I've almost never seen him in interviews and stuff. Is he? I'm assuming like vaguely fluent, like minorly.
I think he's better now, but it was like pretty bad back then. I mean, that was his he had literally been in NA for 6 months at that point. So yeah, and
comes from a culture where by default they all have to respect you and just do whatever you say. So that's already a nightmare if you put him in a team like TSM. Then we're putting in Zix. Zix was the guy where everyone on his team is like his best pal. Like, they all just like him and they all get along and they all sing fucking Kumbaya and finish 5th place because of CLG. Like, that's not a high pressure organization. He never had any pressure. He was allowed to literally fail for like a year after that and do nothing. So everyone was cool with that. Like, you can't bring people in who either don't have like the right vocal aspect, the right mentality, who want to be friends with the players, because none of these things can exist in TSM. Like, as you're saying, Dom, if the whole time I'm coaching, it's like the old fucking vaudeville and someone might put out that like sheep crook and jack my neck off, like, I'm going to be fucking thinking about that and looking to one side as I'm doing everything. So one problem I have in NA as well is too many of these coaches want to be like pals with the players. It's totally inappropriate. Like, in that scenario, it's not like as strict as like, I'm your boss if I'm your coach, because sometimes we're both like sort of like, sometimes we're colleagues essentially, and I just have a different role. Like, maybe I'm more communicative, or I'll set the plan up and you follow it. That doesn't always mean I'm your boss. But if I was someone's boss, the reason I can't be your friend is because that could actually fuck both of us up. Like, it could fuck you up because now you might take liberties, or you might just not be as serious, or you might not be as professional because we're friends. But it can also fuck me up because now I give you like extra chances. I'm not as hard on you. Like, in that scenario, the reason why there has to be a separation is something Monty said years ago. And it's actually why Loco originally had that like beef with us when he joined TSM. Because the reason Monty thought people who were really young and inexperienced couldn't be coaches is because if you try to be pals with the players, like, there's not enough distance for you to be able to criticize them properly. You can't basically call the guy out. You can't say, I expect something more of you. To do that to a friend is fucked up. To say to your friend, you know, I expect you to just get like way better at your job, otherwise, well, or what? Or not your friend anymore. That'd be fucked up, wouldn't it? So in that scenario, like, I feel like trying to be pals with the players, I don't like that approach. Like, I haven't seen it. I put it this way, all the teams that have been champions, I haven't seen many that was the approach.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had something like this with Duke, who's like was my coach in Splice 1 year ago. Like, this guy would really annoy me sometimes, and I would not agree with him on a lot of things. But it was not until after the year that I realized, okay, this guy actually really pushed me at times where maybe if I didn't get that push, I wouldn't have done so well. So it's hard to realize in the moment, but after, when you see it, it definitely has a lot of good things.
No, he's annoying in a good way. As in, he just really has like things he thinks and believes. Like, listen, I'm going to do a show with him, so he won't be like blah or whatever. But like, he would be the guy where normally, if we say something on a talk show, as you've seen, Dom, people just subtweet you and tweet shit about you separately on their account, right?
Yeah.
Duke would literally like try and like debate me over all the points we made on Leeds United. I was like, dude, I don't want to have a private debate about, like, come on the show if you want to wreck us or whatever. But like, I'm not gonna like go back and forth. I'm like, well, here's why I disagree with what you said there. It's like, it's just a show, isn't it? So I could see that actually. It seems like he has more of like a nitpick mindset, but that can be good as a coach.
Yeah, I think it's good for sure. He helped me a lot, and I didn't realize until like the year was over that I'm actually thankful for this guy.
Yeah,
because think about that story in Team Liquid, where when Team Liquid Doublelift was gonna, not even when he'd left, when he was on his way out, all those like weird stories that were coming out, where it was like, obviously they had a mad communication breakdown, that team, where they were like, but Doublelift was like, but I thought they were just telling me that things were going badly, not that I was being warned. And then the others were like, but if you didn't like me, Jensen, why don't you just say to my face? Like, that's just a communication breakdown there, dude. And that's people who don't know when they're not being criticized very often, so they don't even know if it's like, they think it's like optional when someone's telling them they're not playing. Like, oh yeah, I'll get together. It's like, that's the person in charge of your project telling you you're not doing what I want.
True. I mean, my only interaction with Duke was, I'm pretty sure I just like flamed the shit out of him and called him incompetent. So yeah, that's huge, because I think
we build that bridge one day.
Yeah, we'll see about that one. I don't know.
He's on Vitality, so you know.
Yeah. I mean, it looked good for me when Vitality was 10th. I'm like, yeah. I mean, they got Duke. What can you do? So, but I think he was the one that originally started that, like, Rogue would beat TSM 8 out of 10 times when they had like 4 wins in LEC, where it's like, okay, this team is mad inconsistent and it's a bunch of rookies. Like, you're telling me that this team is going to consistently beat anyone? You can't consistently beat the worst team in your league. Like, they lost to Misfits, which at the time was just like a dumpster fire. Not that much has changed, but it's a little bit better now. But yeah, like, it was just a dumpster fire, 10th place team. They lost to them twice. So come on.
If you want to pivot, here's the obvious pivot I want to go to. Right, listen, one thing that's interesting, Kobbe, is you've played with Bjergsen, who obviously is like a pretty confident guy, but, you know, he has his own vision of the game and he can be quiet in his own ways. You played with Senkox, who's like kind of in the middle, again, reasonably quiet guy, just kind of does his thing. You played with all these players. Humanoid was a bit fiery, I've heard, but you had him when he was a rookie, to be fair. Like, he maybe hadn't come into his own, like I've heard he has in Mad Lions now. What the fuck is it like playing with Febiven? Because here's the thing that's sad, right? This is where I always tell people, you have to see people on my shows before you know them. Because everything that people have seen about Febiven was when he was like the good, polite boy with his fucking shoes polished in Fnatic. Like, yeah, do whatever Daylor says. How can I have this Red Bull? So, oh, sorry, no. Like, people think, right, that Febiven's just this like chill guy, because people have this weird perception of Dutch people as chill just because they smoke weed or whatever, but they're not at all, actually. Like, I've told people this. The thing that's funny about Dutch people is Dutch and British humor so overlaps because we're so blunt. Like, if people have now seen from him coming on my shows, Febiven is a fucking character. He is the reason we say, like, someone's a character. Like, this guy is ridiculous in his own way. Like, he has mad opinions about everything. He thinks he's right about shit that he hasn't even thought about. Like, I love it though, dude. Like, it's really fun on shows because, like, he has some really wacky opinions.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely, as you say, has very strong opinions and is the guy to like influence everyone the most in the team. From what I noticed, he's like a leader in that sense. Whatever he does, most people will follow him. If he is happy, then the mood is good. If he is feeling down, then the mood will obviously go down as well. So I
Does
think
he
he has
demand
like
everything in the game though? Is he that mid laner like I want the buff and the jungler and everyone come here and everyone play around it? Is he doing that?
I don't think so. Like his biggest trait is that he always has mid prior, no matter what matchup, no matter what game. So you can always count on him to get stuff done in game.
The fuck's that little trailer? What was that commercial there, Dom, for like Febiven? He always has mid prior. You can always count on him and get things done in the game.
Yeah.
Febiven works 8 out of 10 times.
Yeah, Jet, I mean, I don't know. Maybe his contract expires in 2020. Like,
I know, is that a clause? That's how demanding he is, Dom. He has a clause in his contract. All the other members must do commercials for him on fucking talk shows.
Yeah. How do you feel about the relative strength of your team? Because, I mean, you guys had a bunch of losses where it was like throws, right? Like the 2 games versus Fnatic, for example.
Let's talk about that one. Come on, please.
Yeah.
Listen, Kobbe, right now, one of the ways I criticize the game, like one of the things I don't like about League right now, is that first of all, the Dragons are almost like Babby's first fucking MOBA. Like this is where Big Arrow, go to the Dragon now if you want to win the game. It's like they've taken out all the fucking macro. But
it's
worse
bullshit.
than that, right? When they took all that shit out, the thing I criticize about the game is now when you have the gold lead, it's also obvious to you as to what you should do to keep applying it and win the game, right? So in theory, people know this. In Europe at the moment, if you get like a 2 or a 3k gold lead, especially if you're like Rogue or something, you're just going to win the game. Like it's very unlikely you're going to lose. So how the fuck did you guys manage the incredible accomplishment of having like a 10k gold lead on Fnatic and then just saying like, fancy the game, Fnatic? Like, what the fuck was that? Come on, we've got to get some thoughts on this. What was going on with that?
Wait, which of the games do you mean? Because there was 2 identical games.
The second one.
Yeah, the second one I think is the more egregious one because I mean,
enormously.
You had the chance to really put the fucking nail in the coffin for Fnatic. I mean, they were really slumping at that time, and you guys were just shitting on them that whole entire game. So
they wanted to go home in that game. I'm telling you, like if you just give them like 1 more minute of that beating, they'd have just been like, "Yeah, we surrender." Like, I could have been an FF. Come on, how did you lose that game?
I mean, I don't know. It's like really simple stuff. Like we take Baron Nashor, we're about to detonate their base, and we have a free dive on the top tier 2, and we're going in, but we're not like someone else is not going in. Like we just go in at different times. I don't know. Like it was like a big problem for our engagers. They're not looking at the position of other players, so you just go in, and suddenly it's a horrible tower dive, and we die. And now we have to take a suboptimal team fight at the Elder Drake, where they are outscaling us slowly. Again, our engage doesn't fit with like I think we had Aatrox who was flanking, and they are just not coordinated at all. And it insta dooms the team fight, and we lose the game. So
because if people don't know, listen, I'll just say it anyway. Whatever, open wound, salt. It's my style, right? Bearing in mind, you were 1 game from making playoffs, and they made playoffs by 2 or 1 games. That could have been the difference for both teams. That 1 game, it really could.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of games could have if we didn't fall down so hard after the break. Like I think we were 5-4 or something crazy, and we didn't even make playoffs. And teams like Schalke, they were 1-10 and they made playoffs. So yeah, I mean that's also just why it's hard to look back at this split, because I think we came in and we were actually not bad. Like the problem is just we didn't improve.
Looked good on paper, and like in the first few weeks, it was going well.
Yeah, like we played good together. Our early game was sick. We just had some struggles closing out games. But yeah, I think the problem was just that we didn't really improve from week to week. We got worse only, and I'm not sure how that happens.
Since you're someone who played many years in LEC when it was obviously a normal offline tournament in a studio in Berlin or Cologne, wherever it might be, do you think it's different to play an LEC split online? Has it been different to you compared to past years? Because obviously at the moment we have this divide, right? The old school players think it is to some degree. And the problem is the new school guys just don't know any better, do they? Like Mad Lions don't know any better as to what it would be like in the studio for playoffs or whatever. Like, so I always want to know what's your sense for that? Is it like over exaggerated how big the deal of online is?
No, I definitely think it has a big impact on, I mean, especially this year, because a lot of newer players came in. And just from experience, my first year of playing, I was not the same player on stage as I was in online games. And a lot of these players, I know the same because like I've seen it time and time again. Like some new insane player comes up, I'm like playing solo queue or playing scrims against this guy, and he's destroying me. Like I don't know what's happening. But I go in official game and he's just another player. So definitely it's like case to case, I would say. Like some players play the same way, others play differently. But for sure it has a big effect. Yeah. And I think if playoffs will be on stage, then you can be sure that G2 are gonna win it all again.
Yes.
Okay.
Because one thing I want to say about that actually is a factor that people haven't factored into the online equation. It's one thing if we were still playing from a studio and it was online, like, you know, we couldn't have an audience and that sort of shit, right? The thing that people don't seem to get is this, and everyone who's a pro knows this, but fans don't. One of the things that is actually very shocking, if you go from being, so League of Legends is the best example, because League of Legends in theory has the shortest path to pro of any game, which is if you're just really good on solo queue, someone might look at you and go, wow, this guy's smurfing, bring him into a competitive team, and suddenly you're in a competitive team, right? In that setting, right, it's not like the old days of Counter-Strike where you had to like attend small lands and win those and climb up, and eventually, you know, like you go through a tiered system and get to the pro level. So as a result, in League of Legends or CSGO or whatever, right, you suddenly go from playing your home PC that you've played on every day of your life to become good at that game to a stage setup where this is what fans don't know. You must now try and replicate your setup at home on that stage PC, which might have a different desk size, different seat. Even the PC might be different. The mouse drivers might feel different. Get any sensitivity. Like, people don't get that. Like, here's what people don't get. First time you do that, it'll never feel the same. Initially, you're like, oh, fucking hell. In fact, part of you, if you're a young pro, even thinks like, shit, were they all doing this the whole time? Like, what? So when like fucking Reckless and Spectre were like doing all this mad highlights, like that was on like a different PC. And then what I've learned from talking to pros over the years is you just learn that it's just like, I have to just put up with it. Like, it'll never feel 100% like my PC at home because everything about that, it's my whole environment I'm used to. So as a result, if you're playing from the PC that you practice on all day and the one that you're playing solo queue, you should be better in online LEC games. Whereas like you go to the stage setup like that, there's a lot of people have some shit excuses of like, oh, my mouse driver just never felt the same. It's like, listen, mate, everyone's dealing with that. It's like being at war, you just have to put up with it, don't you? What do you think?
You want to go first, or?
Sure. Well, I mean, I was gonna say like how close are or do you try to replicate it? Because like I know when I was playing LCS, like I would go as close as like I would know how far my chair needed to be close to like the desk, and then I would position my keyboard based off like the format that I had is that I needed to be able to just fully put my thumb in between the armrest of the chair and my desk, and then I would just move my keyboard exactly to the line that my chair would be. So like I would always feel pretty comfortable on stage just because I've developed like a formula that worked for me. That made me feel like as comfortable as possible. So I feel like some of the newer players haven't worked all that out. Like that wasn't until like maybe the second year of my career where I started like really like trying to replicate it ideally. And I thought it was easier with LCS because LCS you have the same desk, same chair, etc. But yeah.
I mean, I think that's a good thing for sure. I don't have exactly the same. That seems like a lot of preparation, but when I go on stage, I just look at the chair, I put the armrest the same height. Like to me, it doesn't matter the exact centimeters of like keyboard, monitor. I just do like a rough estimate that feels comfortable. And then it's more about getting into the mindset for me. And that's, I mean, me as a player, like why I think this has been like pretty hard for me, because when I play on stage, it's just a different mindset. Like I'm giving my 100% no matter what to win the game in terms of effort, play, shot calling, everything. And my struggle this year was like replicating that when you're playing from home, because I didn't have the same tick that I'm going into. Okay, this is life or death now. It just felt like another scrim in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's a lot easier to like lose a game and then just like, all right, like we lost, and then you like turn off the camera or whatever, and you're good, right? You're at home and just relax. It's so much worse if you get like smashed on stage or some shit, and then you're
shame is bad.
Yeah, you gotta like get off the fucking cameras in your face, like, and it's like, look at how depressed this motherfucker is. Yeah, he sucks. Like, look at him. Like, I hate that shit. So. For me,
that awkward moment, you go back to that room at LCS.
Yeah.
As soon as the door closes behind everyone, there's that sort of like.
Yep.
And you just start looking around. Obviously, at that moment, that's when like TSM Legends begins, because that's when like every fucking episode begins at that point.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it was like, pretty brutal. Where I feel like it doesn't feel as bad. I can't imagine it feeling as bad to lose at home as it feels to lose on stage. Like when you lose that game to Fnatic, right, and you're in your home, it's not as embarrassing. I can't imagine it's that embarrassing.
Just go scream into the towel or something.
It doesn't feel embarrassing. It's just like, I mean, we're sitting in the same room. Like some people have different reactions. Some guys like getting out of the room instantly. Obviously, we're all frustrated. And I'm just sitting there for a while trying to process what happened. I'm like, yeah, I guess we lost. Let's go to the review room and talk about it. But yeah, for sure, there's no embarrassment. There's no, just not much feelings. Like whether you win or lose, because it just feels the same as playing solo queue and scrims. And yeah, it's really boring, I would say. Like I think this year was just it's so boring to play from home compared to playing on stage.
See, I imagine when they lost that game, Dom, because they were just in that one setting, it was like when Robert Oppenheimer said his famous speech after the nuclear bomb explosion, where he said, few people laughed, few people cried, most people were silent. Maybe that's what it's like.
Could
Pretty
be.
much, yeah.
No, because that's the point I was going to make earlier, though, when I'm saying about how, like, we all take it for granted if you've never been in a pro setting that you haven't basically just accept the compromise that it's never going to feel 100% like it is at home. I'm just trying to get it as close as I can. And then it's mindset of putting it out of my mind. What people don't seem to get is when you watch, like, Faker or Rookie or in CSGO, like, Simple or Nico, when you watch them do clips that, like, would be better than anything you've ever done ever in your life, remember, they're doing that on, like, a not optimal setup, sometimes in a random country they've never been to, and just in like on stage in front of like thousands of fans. Like those people really are the best. Like that idiot on Reddit who's like, but I'm doing that in Diamond Solo Queue. It's like, shut the fuck up. No one gives a fuck what you're doing. All you're doing is comment on Reddit. That's it. That's that's the end of your craft.
I have a question for Kobbe. Did you ever have anything that like really fucked with you, like in terms of settings? Because there was one time where I played with mouse acceleration on by accident. I went to the setup and I didn't do it, and it literally felt like I couldn't control my mouse the entire game. Was there ever anything where you played a game where you're like, damn, that was like literally impossible to play?
Well, the classic's usually like that, right, Dom? It's like if someone who was on the PC before you set it up in a fucked up way that you don't know about, and then you'll only find out in the game. Yeah.
I mean, it's always going to be different because someone else is playing there before you. So I go through systematically. I check my surroundings, and then I go the same settings on the PC. I make sure everything was okay. It was only my teammates, like at 2016 Worlds when I played with Trashy or Cold.
Yep.
We played the first 3 games, and we were like 0-3. And he comes after and he tells me,
like, don't fuck the fuck out of me right now. He's going to say something like, it was totally fun. Come on. Like his mouse doesn't work or something.
I'm bracing for it.
Come on.
No, but he was really funny because like he's like, something felt really off. Like I feel like I'm lagging. And then he realized he played on 60 hertz for 3 games instead of 144, and it was
World Championship.
So hilarious.
He was in the World Championship. He was in the same group of fucking Samsung Galaxy, who made the final, RNG, where Uzi and fucking Matter, and TSM. But no biggie. TSM, he was just playing with fucking mouse all fucked up and lagged. No, 60 hertz monitor rather. He's playing with a 60 hertz monitor. Why? Trashy, you deserve that name back then. What the fuck is that?
Yeah,
I mean, he still played fine, but like we just got stomped.
No, but it is tilt-worthy though, because it just makes you think what would happen if he just had a normal monitor.
It was just really funny.
Those guys who never set up the monitor himself. Or
I literally had the opposite before. Like I was the type of player where I was like, damn, I always play better on stage. And it's like, oh, well, you just play 144 hertz on stage. You play 60 hertz in solo queue. And I was like, I just felt like I got a buff. Like I was like, damn, I get on stage, it just feels so much better. I feel like I could like take over the world. It's like, wait, you're just playing 60 hertz the entire time? I'll say I think it was like in season 4.
It was mind-blowing to me as well because I played a lot of like FPS games.
I never played a shooter.
So to me, it's like it's so obvious when how many hertz I'm on, you can just see it, right?
Yes.
But no, I didn't really have anything like that. I think I always played fine on stage, except for my first year as a pro. I definitely played worse. I mean, we didn't play on stage that much.
Really, was it? Wasn't it like 1 week or something? It was like 1 week or something.
No, it was like 6 weeks. First 6 or something.
Yeah, we played like 5 or 6 weeks on stage.
Yeah, it was quite far through. Yeah, no, whatever then.
But playoffs from home was definitely a bummer. Like that's just too boring.
It just looks so weird. Even with like the cameras, they had like the webcam, and Kobbe's literally, I just see into his kitchen. I'm like, he's supposed to feel like he's in an environment. I can literally see like his cereal right there. Like it's so fucking weird.
I couldn't take it serious either because the apartment I had, it was like I always order food or order a Starbucks or something, and right next to my desk, it's like 1 meter from it. I open the door to outside where my food is coming, and I'm just like, I open for the Starbucks, and then I guess I'm ready to play playoffs now. And when we lost, it was like, I don't know. Everyone's just sitting in Discord, and it's just so different. And I don't know what to say about it really.
There's also, by the way, one thing that is also still massively different between LEC and LCS. Even though like salaries are getting good for the top players in LEC, the accommodations are fucking night and day. Like people know from those reality shows, since about season 5 onwards, the top NA teams have had like fucking basically like massive houses, mansions, fucking super slick facilities. Like if you look at LEC, listen, I'm allowed to say this because I'm British, but Germany's a fucking shithole. I don't even care what you all say. So their equivalent of like the normal, you've seen those fucking rooms when you see the angle. Like it's like
Some
you
of them
wouldn't
look
believe
nice.
these $1 million orgs. A couple of them are, but some of them just look like if me and you just fucking were like roommates and we were students, we just rented an apartment in Berlin. It's like what the fuck they're playing from there. Like some of that doesn't look that slick to me. So I can't imagine that's that great to play from.
Yeah.
And the internet shit. That's one thing no one brings up. Have there actually been any? Listen, you don't have to drop specific details, but since everyone's played all the games online, and it's notorious that Berlin internet sometimes just straight goes out, lags, whatever. Do you think there actually were any games that were affected by it in online play?
For us, like my top laner Dandan, he was permanently DCing, like even in scrims.
Oh, for the entire season? Damn, no wonder he played weak side. Happens.
No, like our internet was fine, but his connection was just so weird that it happened to Denik as well in the last game, where they just suddenly they start screaming in like a team fight. Oh, pause! Like I'm out of the game. I don't know how it is for other teams, but definitely we had to do some pauses because of it.
I feel bad for Dandan then because he's actually Dutch, and Dutch internet is fucking amazing. Like it's everywhere, it's just super high speed, never disconnects ever. So I can't even imagine him going from that to fucking German internet. My life.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah. No, I loved Dutch internet. I mean, I went there twice last year, and it's super fast, and the ping was like great. I'm playing on like 17 ping. Like, I play on 70. Like
the first thing everyone asks me, right, for real, and these are gamers in esports, they go, why do you live in the Netherlands? I go, well, I can't possibly think. Like, let's see, like perfect internet, like all the servers are there. Weed is literally like available in all shops. Like, I can't put it together.
I mean,
I guess I just like fucking clogs or something, you daft cunt. What do you think? And then you ask them where they're from. They're from like Spain or something. It's like, go eat some fucking thrown up paella and shut the fuck up.
The Netherlands is like a sick country.
I think it's sweet as fuck.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite countries I've ever been to. It's literally my favorite country I've ever been to.
No one knows. I didn't know this myself. I'll admit I didn't know it either. You know the way it's all canals and all these weird areas?
Yep.
It's cause this is mental. Go and look online. This is a piece of trivia that'll blow your fucking mind. Do a Google search for something like Dutch, like reclaimed area or something. Basically, most of the Netherlands should be underwater. It would be like a bunch of like swampy areas with a little bit of land. And what they did is they were like the masters, and this is like 500 years ago or something, of learning how you reclaim land. Like you make a lock and you block off the water, and then when the land's there, you take the water out and you build stilts and you build buildings on top. So for example, the main area in Dam Square with like the fucking, like basically like the castle or whatever, that's like on 10,000 sticks, like down into some like mud underneath. But it all looks like it's just land. And so there's this baller line that the Dutch have, because they're all like Febiven, they're all up their own arse, but in like a cool way. They have a sick fucking line that sounds like it's from the movie or something, where they say God created the earth, but man created the Netherlands. It's like a fucking sick line, because like the whole country's based on artificial in a sense. It's actually baller, yeah. I love this shit because I'm half Dutch, you know, so I eat up all that all that Dutch lore, so to speak. So I guess let's jump into a little of the LEC topics. One thing that I was talking to other people about, or I talked to Grabs about, was just like the strength of AD carries in LEC. It seems like the level is pretty high. Do you feel like this is like the highest, the average AD carry level? Because if you look at every team, even the bad teams, right, the last place team in the entire fucking league has upset as their AD carry, right? Like that should say something about like the strength of ADC. Yeah. I have a video coming soon, dude. I won't spoil it, but basically the premise is this, especially once I knew OG weren't making it. Dude, I've got a video where to dunk on NA, Dom, all I've done is this. I've just shown that from the teams that didn't make playoffs in LEC, you could make a team that would win LCS. And I'm not exaggerating. When you see the teams that you can make, they would win LCS. Like, I'm not hating on anyone. So yeah, the talent level is amazing thanks to these rookies. What do you think, Kobbe? Like it seems like this is one of those splits where, listen, I'm not going to like fucking blow smoke up your ass. It still sucks not to make playoffs, but this was one of the only times where like the level you played this split, that might have just been like a bottom playoff team in all the other splits that you've ever played in, mate.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. It definitely has gotten like so much better. I'm just thinking of previous years and how different it is now, because it's also that, like, from all the playoffs teams, I don't look and say, okay, I have a huge advantage over this AD carry. Like, all of them are solid players at the very least. Whereas back in the day when I started playing, there was only Sven and Reckless I had to worry about. I didn't care. I mean, Forgiven was there for a short while too, but anyone else, I didn't have to care. Like, I knew I would be better. And then suddenly there's a Hansama coming in. Next year there's an Upset. Next year again there's a Patrick, and just all these names coming in slowly with like 1 or 2 new guys you have to take care for. And now, I mean,
it's an entire league. Who's the worst?
Your position is one of the strongest now in the whole league.
Now it's almost the entire league with like really good players, so it's just hard to have like a huge edge. And that's also why, I mean, Upset 10 players, it sounds ridiculous, but at the end of the day, you can't really make the difference as AD unless you're like miles ahead of the enemy AD carry. Then you can make a big difference, but it's just, even if you're really good, that's really hard nowadays because everyone else is just much better than previous years.
And he had to play with Jack Troll. Like, let's just throw that in there. It's like, it's a Jack Troll difference in the bot lane almost every game.
Worse than that, dude. He went from Destiny to Jack Troll. That is like from the frying pan into the fire. Like, give me a motherfucking break. Dude, I was in Schalke for years. Can I just get a chance to shine? Like, nah, here we go, another support for you. No, here's the thing. It's like, what were we talking about there? Lost what the original premise was.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean...
that was the point. I was going to say this, right? This is where you can't contrast this year against last year's. Like, for example, if anyone thinks Upset sucks because OG finished last, does he fuck? He's still one of the best scored ADs in the whole league. The point is, in Season 10, you can't do Teddy and Jin shit. He was lucky that he was in the right fucking meta that even allowed that. Like, normally, I don't think you can do that in most times in League of Legends. You definitely cannot be like the only good player in 1v9 the game. No way. From AD carry, no way.
It's impossible nowadays, especially with how dumb the meta has gotten and just the game in general. I would say if you abuse Aphelios in the first half of the summer split before it got nerfed to the ground, you can pick this champ. If you're good, you'll win the game. And unless all of your teammates literally run it down, then you can make a difference. But yeah, nowadays it's hard to like. I mean, even from solo queue, it's so hard to 1v9 from AD carry. If the game is at an even state or not doomed after 20-30 minutes, then you can do it. But if it's not, then I mean, you don't have a say in it. So
yeah.
Why are you not a fan of the meta overall, though? Because, like, in theory, it does play to, like, bot side will always be played around to some degree. People are always coming down there. So what don't you like?
I think it's just the same every game. It's really boring. Like, you cannot win by playing the map better, by split pushing, by all of these other strategies. Like, you only win by playing bot side early, getting the Drakes, getting Herald maybe for a tower or something, some nice turret plates. But having a strong teamfight composition that spikes around like the third Drake, like you need to be able to fight for the third Drake, because if you're 2 down already and you cannot fight the third, it's game over almost. So yeah, whoever is better at being grouped and gets the Drakes will win. And many teams have tried like other things, but at the end of the day, when you see Rogue, they're really good at what they do, but they also do the same almost every game, which is just the most optimal.
Would your Splice team of last year be better than they were last year in this meta, or worse? Which would it be?
It was the perfect team, right? Like, you got the weak side top laner.
Just saying.
We would have won Worlds. Like, I don't know. I mean, like everyone went to other teams or even retired. So I was like, it was hard for me to see what was going to happen. But yeah, I just don't like the fact that the game is so simple, Drake RNG, and it was like Cloud9 was doing the same in Spring in like this year. They did the same thing every game. No one was able to match them or stop them, and they used the same formula to win every single game. And it's just frustrating sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, before we go back to you, I just a quick thing I wanted to ask you is like, why do you think that Cloud9 is struggling so much right now? Like you said, you've been watching a little bit of NA, right? So, I mean, they've been having quite the game slide. They don't look like the same team. Like even versus bottom tier teams, they're not able to stomp them in the same way.
I guess just, I mean,
Because for me, it just looks like pure confidence. Like, it's just like they just look like they're not as comfortable as they were before. Like, they hadn't dealt with adversity, so as soon as they started losing, things just got different. But
yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah. Like, I was about to say the competition has gone better, or something like they haven't been improving because the other teams were too bad, but that those things kind of go against each other, so I have no idea, really. Like, maybe it's just a mix.
You think it could be meta at all? Because another thing that worked really well for Cloud9 was like all these super like roam heavy mid lane champions. So like if you look at Spring Split, there was a lot of like Rumble being played, champions like this. Where right now like Orianna, Azir, super high priority. Do you think that's any of the issue? Do you think there's inability of Nisqy to like adapt?
Probably, yeah. I know Nisqy is better at that other style than picking Orianna or other control mages and just staying in mid lane, farming until you're strong on some items. He's quite the opposite.
Am I in the Twilight Zone or something? So we're now on talk shows. Let me check where I am. We're now criticizing mid laners who don't roam, who just stay in the mid lane and pick Orianna and farm up, and then are good in the team fight job. Yeah. This is where we are in 2020. And of course, by the way, too late for all my favorite players now.
Well,
they didn't survive. They almost made it on me with that quote.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, Fraga got his shot on the Orianna, and it wasn't even working out. And let me tell you, like, I don't know where Dignitas stands, where Phoenix could be the better option, because I think Phoenix is...
He's been pretty bad as well, mate.
He's been pretty fucking awful, like, in these games. I mean, you pretty much ban his Azir, you force him on anything else, and it's pretty rough. Like, he's trolling hard on stage, so... I don't know, man. I guess Froggen, I think he might be done. You think he retires after this?
It's funny how things come in a cycle. Well, the problem is, like, realistically, if it was about winning, he should have retired years ago because he just keeps taking fucking paychecks. So the question, I think, is just, will someone offer him the paycheck? So if there's a team out there, if there's any LCS team will offer him a good amount of money to play as a starter, he'll probably sign. By the way, that was an interesting detail where we got wasn't it on this show where we got that mad detail that like it was in his contract he had to start.
It was on my other show. I think it was on Face Check, but yeah, where he.
Oh, he was on your show. He said that.
Yeah. It was like he had a guaranteed starter clause in spring, so like DeMonte couldn't have played. Period. So there was points.
I think maybe DeMonte mentioned it when we had him summon an insight or something. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. That could be it then. Yeah, that's pretty mad in itself. He had a guaranteed starter fucking clause.
I feel like that's just so unhealthy. It's like, where's the motivation in that? It's like, yeah, you just get to start the whole split no matter how you play. It's like, no matter how I fucking play, all right, shit, I'm playing fucking Valorant then. Like, I don't care.
Nah, that's whack. That's whack for sure.
Yeah, it sounds pretty stupid.
Yeah. All right, so back on some EU stuff. One thing we haven't talked about, we got to talk about Schalke Miracle Run. I mean, this team literally looked horrific. They were 1-10 in their first 11 games, won their last 7, made playoffs. Like, what's your take on how strong they are? Like, do you think that this team is going to make Worlds now? Because they look in the last 3-4 weeks like one of the top teams, like one of the best teams in the entire league. So do you think that this team makes Worlds over like Fnatic and SK, for example? Do you think we get like a Rogue Mad Lions, Schalke, and G2 Worlds?
It depends on like the playoff format. I do think if Fnatic picks up their level, they are not gonna lose to a team like Schalke. But maybe I'm wrong, right? I would need to see the playoff bracket before making a qualified guess. But I mean, it would be cool if they did it. I think for sure they can. But if they have like the lower seed, like starting from 5th, 6th, it's kind of hard.
They have to win 3 best of 5s in a row.
Yeah, exactly. And if the enemy teams have caught up by that point, because right now, yeah, they can do it. If they play today, I believe they can do it. But if the enemy teams catch up to them, it will for sure be harder.
Is it the case that, like, before the Miracle win kicked in, were they already, like, starting to show signs in scrims that they were starting to get good?
I mean, we were getting... After the break, like, when we went 0-4 as well, like, towards the end of the split, we were getting destroyed in scrims. And even against Schalke, when they were, like, 1-10, they were destroying us in scrims. And we were like, okay, like, how is this happening? Like, how bad can we have become? But at that point, they were getting pretty good. I don't think they have like necessarily star players or something. They play really well together.
They have Faker mid lane. I don't know if you saw.
Abedage, yeah. in online games.
Oh, it's Abed.
He's
I
doing
thought it was
pretty well.
Faker. My bad. That's pretty.
Yeah, sorry, I revealed him.
May as well be on the
But,
internet, mate.
Yeah.
but yeah,
Okay.
they play really well together. They always do plays of S5, which is better than many other teams already.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's really impressive what they did.
So if you were to like, make your prediction on which 4 teams go to Worlds, would you go Rogue, Fnatic, Mad Lions, G2, or would you put Schalke in there over like potentially the Fnatic?
Or
Ooh.
SK?
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like SK is kind of doomed. I don't know. I just feel like SK won't be able to win, but maybe I'm wrong. I just don't have the faith in them, really.
Nah, Rogue and Matt for sure, just based on the. Or actually, is G2 even ahead in the seeding? Of,
So G2 is actually G2
They're the second seed, I think, weren't they?
yeah, I think they're second
Oh.
seed. But I think that what's so troll is if you look at like Carlos's tweet, he had like a banger tweet where he's like, "Oh, thank God that we we won Spring, because if we didn't win Spring, we would just be in the same fucking place we are now. Like it didn't actually matter at all." So, I mean, that's the overall gist of it. But
yeah, I think Rogue, Matt, G2, and last one would be cool to have Schalke, just to see something else. But most people would say it would be Fnatic, but that's also just, I mean, it would be fun to have like something else.
Yeah.
What do you think Fnatic's issues were? Because obviously they only crept into the playoffs thanks to other people's results. Like they were, I know they won that last game, but that last game didn't matter to either team. So like, there's a world where this Fnatic team shockingly might not have made. That might have been one of the like victims of the Schalke run. They might have not made playoffs. What do you think?
Well, it's hard to say from the outside, but from what I've seen on broadcast as well, it seems like they don't have the best mood in that team.
Yep.
Because every time there's a face cam, whether they win or lose, I just see a lot of. I mean, now they're trying to change it because maybe, they're trying to change it. Like,
we have a saying.
good job, like, pat each other on the shoulder, but
they're trying to act on camera. Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah.
We have a saying in English, right? It's like an idiom. It's like you've got a face like a slapped ass, because it just means where you look like really like red and you're like bothered. Like that's like fucking Nemesis face every face cam. Mate,
Yeah.
they're like walking away from those losing team fights. Like he just looks like he's ready to fucking mold to oblivion.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, they just don't seem happy playing together, but it's just suspicion. Like,
absolutely.
Speculation,
Yeah. When you look at their when you look at their voice comms that they do on Fnatic, I think it says something when the guy that is literally L9 is your by far most positive player on your team. Like he's the guy, he's the one that's like, yeah, he's like, guys, we gave it our all. Like it's my bad, I didn't play that well, but I believe in you guys. Like we can win next time. It's okay. It was a close game. Like that's the guy that's picking you guys up. So I don't know.
By the way, mad props to him actually for being that figure, because if people don't know, in Polish esports, I mean, I've got an interview coming out soon with Veggie, who used to be the Rockat coach. It is infamous in Polish esports that they have like the most insane inter-team like fucking comments. Like they will just like they don't just they will flame their teammates in the game. Like they'll just be like, "You fucking pig! What the fuck you didn't come out?" Like just how they talk. Like
Holy shit!
He's actually like transformed culturally. He's like mad props to him. Yeah, well done.
Yeah.
Respect. Then again, though, he also was on SK before, so he's probably like, "Come on, guys, I was already in a fucking ELO hell. You're supposed to be good. Can we play, please? We can do it. Don't give up."
Yeah. I mean, it's really weird seeing that team, even just like how they leave the room, right? Like every other team, like they'll kind of leave together. They'll like have some like moment where they're all, discuss the game. They're like, all right, let's go to review. Like we fucking lost. Just that is like the game ends. And the first thing you see is just Reckless like jump out of his chair and like start going to review. And it's like, what the fuck? Like what about everyone else? Like I thought that Reckless was the guy that normally is staying in his chair, like crying until the rest of them leave. So I'm actually really surprised to see that he's actually made the transformation.
No, the crying doesn't get activated until they get good enough to go to the international level. Then it happens at that point. Before that, he's just a normal guy.
Okay, respect. All right.
Yes, I
Sounds
think
good
he's
to me.
good before he can then make it all about himself. So
Yeah.
I believe it works like that.
What's your opinion on Hylissang? Because like he's been having this like ridiculously awful split. I mean, he like normally he would have like some int games and some games where he would carry, but he's had like a couple good games on Pyke, but for the most part he's just been running it down the entire split. Like what do you think the issue is here?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a good player. It's why he maybe looks worse is just, let's say, like, I mean, Fnatic has been doing worse, right, the split, and I think when things are not working out, Hylissang is probably the first player to look really terrible, because he is always the guy going in, finding engages, sacrificing for team.
Is he sacrificing for the team? Because like at some point it's just like, wait, you're just running it, like.
Yeah, sometimes it's inting, right? And you can have that even when you're winning, but he's not the guy who's gonna, just because things are going badly, he thinks they can't win, he's not gonna sit back in his base, hold his KDA, not doing anything. He's gonna try to do something, always. So
how insane is that, by the way, that you put the ultimate KDA player with the ultimate non-KDA player in one lane? Like
and it worked for so long. That
it
made
was
sense.
Very good for a couple of years. Yeah, true.
What's your take on that, Kobbe?
Sorry, KDA player with non-KDA player.
Do you think Reckless is like a super KDA player? How about
it's really hard to figure out that clue, isn't it, as to which of the players I could be referring to on Fnatic. But see if you can guess.
Is Hylissang the KDA player or non-KDA player?
He's the non-KDA player. He fucking ints all the time, isn't he? He's never met you. I know. Come on.
I mean, as an AD carry, you kind of have to play for KDA a lot of times, at least early to mid game. But it becomes obvious, like when you're losing the game, like who's trying to actually make a change. Like I had a game recently where we lost. I ended up with 0 deaths, and I was like, this is too boring. Like I didn't do anything. So in my last 2 games, whether win or lose, like I tried to do as much damage as possible.
Try to at least die one time.
And I died like 5 times both games. We got 1 win, got 1 loss, but at least I tried to win. And that feels, maybe your stats are worse, but it feels better at least. And
yes,
I know it's there's like 2 sides of it, because in 99% cases you can't do anything. So I've also been guilty of this in games where I know no matter what I do, I'm just not strong enough to do anything. So I'm just gonna sit here do nothing.
Sure.
But if you're doing it literally from early game, then something must be wrong. Like in our first game we played against Fnatic, we played like Kalista Nautilus into Ezreal Braum against Fnatic, and we took an early trade where I got first blood.
You had like 8 kills.
Yeah, like in the first blood, and I watched the replay and I was like, wait, this guy could have, like Ezreal could have saved his support. And he could have killed me as well, because we actually misplayed, but I didn't realize until I saw the replay. I was like, what the fuck? So yeah, just a funny story from this split, I guess.
Okay, so I guess Reckless is just playing for KDA and letting Hilly die. Is Hilly really inting? Yeah.
Not one instance. Here's the question I have, right, is this. Right, listen, ignoring your teammates now, right? Like, because obviously, you know, like no one knows what happens in the off-season. No one knows who ends up where, right? Put it this way, when you say, like, the team was doing worse, blah, blah, if I told you get this splits Hylissang, would you want him as your spot next year? You think you can be the guy that turns him around and makes it all good? Would you want him?
How scary would that be? You got Hilly coming in as your support.
I mean, I would like to play with him. It's a really good player I haven't played with before, so I like the idea of that. But I don't want him to die 10 times every game, unless he's saving me every time.
Yeah, I mean, I hope. So, I mean, are you willing to, you know, play the Jhin Pike lane into Kate Morg? Is that the matchup that you're willing to play?
Who the fuck's he playing? Apollo Hackwater or something?
Did they actually win that game or not?
No, they lost that game to G2, but they hard won the lane. They first blooded level 1.
That should not happen. G2
yeah, exactly. Yes, it was Kate Morg into Pike Jhin, and the Pike Jhin solo killed level. He actually hit 2 hooks somehow on Kate Morg level 1, and they just won.
I mean, I don't like Pike too much on this, because let's say you're playing that lane. I'm just thinking, okay, we cannot win lane. Like, we just have to roam and make some magic happen. So I don't really like that, because then it makes me feel like I can't impact the game. I just have to sit on farm and hope I get carried. So if he's smurfing on the Pike, I don't mind. But if he's inting, no thank you.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be doing both. So I
mean, yeah, let's be real. Like, it's not like he doesn't even know himself, does he? But he just goes in like fucking magic 8-ball. Guess it is. Just fucking happens, isn't it? So, like, what I want to ask you though is, what about your old support? Formerly Norskeren, I understand why he changed the name. Now Tor, obviously playing over there with Patrick, who's a pretty good player himself. Like, actually, no one's given them any credit, dude. Like, XL almost made playoffs. It was only a weird tiebreaker scenario, meant they didn't. So I actually think, listen, I'm not going to give them all props. I'll say, like, bot lane and Youngbuck, you get props. The rest of you, you're just fucking lucky to be there. But whatever. I want to ask you, because everyone... It's weird, right? I could tell the people, Kobbe, who only watched Worlds, because everyone who watched Worlds flamed the fuck out on Norskeren. Everyone who watched LEC thought he was all right player. He definitely wasn't bad. What do you think of him?
I mean, I always defended him, since generally, if the main opinion is that, he's inting, he's a griefer, then I'm like the first guy to say no, it's definitely not. Like, I'm not saying he's the best support in the world, but he was there for a reason, and he helped us get to where we are. And what I really like, also why I'm not the first guy to flame someone like Hylissang, is because I really appreciate a support who doesn't play for KDA and does everything he can to help his team and dies for his AD carry. Like, I love this. When I played in TSM, it was not the same. Like, I was used to people dying for me and stuff like this. And for example, with Biofrost, like, he would not do that. He would save his own life. So I really
from
appreciate
around
that.
here, are you, boy? We can carve our own here. It's like, come on, man. What did you expect? It's TSM. Everyone's just looking. Mate, at the end of the day, they're all looking at the box score like it's a fucking like job review. Like, oh well, at least I wasn't the worst, so you're getting kicked BrokenBlade. Like, that's another thing I actually genuinely think sucks about TSM is when you create a culture of like mass scrutiny like that. Just as a natural human element, people will always like self-preserve. So people will start in certain scenarios not playing for the team in the same way that they would. It'll just happen.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense because, like, you don't want to be the guy who looks bad. You don't want to get replaced.
Course, yeah.
And if Hylissang was having these games in TSM, then there would probably be a lot of hate, right?
Would fucking throw him out the door like
he would be dead.
Sprint.
He would be dead, assassinated by some crazy TSM fan. Like, it is just insane over there. Like, yeah, no.
Dude, they'd be calling like Homeland Revenue trying to get him fucking his like visa revoked or something done.
Yeah, it's insane. Like,
but yeah, I like Noskaren a lot. He's probably my second favorite support I played with so far.
Who's your favorite support that you ever played with?
Well, Mikyx, obviously.
Yeah, okay.
The best in the world.
Was he actually that insane when you played with him? Because he didn't start really getting like the real hype until afterwards. But
I mean,
you thought he was insane.
Yeah. He was going 10 deaths in scrims sometimes 10 deaths on stage, but I still thought he was insane. That was just like something you had to deal with at the time until he learned the game, got some experience. But from the get-go, like, I met him in solo queue, and I'm like, this guy is insane. I want to play with him. I don't care if he dies 10 times.
The only thing is, though, since he did have that rep that he was quite quiet, even cops to it as well, and admits it's true, isn't that the part that makes it tough to play with Mikyx back then? It's like, if someone's going to go in and do all that crazy-ass shit and maybe fuck it all up, you want a little bit of advance warning, right? You don't just want to be like, what the fuck are you doing now? Like, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I wish I would get to play with him, if not for real, then just for fun again, to just see how it is, because I mean, I was kind of a rookie as well. I only had one more split than him. Cool. And I just wish between us, there was like one guy with like a bit more veteranship. If I was a bit more accepting when he was ending the games and just always being there as an older brother or something, helping him, that's something I wish I could have done more. Because I really liked him. He's like one of my best friends in esports. And yeah, it would just be fun to like play again and see how it would go.
Yeah. I mean, since we're talking about Mikyx, I feel like it's just only right to bring up Perkz, right? Like, Perkz is obviously his lane mate, and he's been having probably the worst split of his career, at least for my money. Like, I think that Perkz has looked really bad. I mean, obviously he went through a lot of like it went through a lot of personal shit, but I mean, we're getting into playoffs now, and he still doesn't look back on form. He doesn't look like Perkz.
Yes.
Right now. So like, how do you what's your perception of Perkz as an AD carry? Do you believe that he's gonna get it together and like be a monster? Because, you know, last year people considered him the best AD carry, like, regardless of the fact that he was, like, you know, Perkz, his actual,
that's kind
of
part of it, though, right? Because, I mean, the thing is, last year, you just play Kai'Sa and Xayah, and then occasionally...
And Syndra and Yasuo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, this year, very different meta.
Yeah, I would say for me as well, I had some of the same issues, or I can understand why it has been hard for him. Also with, like, outside factors that was really horrible for him. So, I do think he can get it together for playoffs once they figure out the patch. Because last year he was really insane on Xayah and Kai'Sa, and I like to think that I was the same. So it was really simple to draft. Like when we came into Worlds, like I told my coach, if Xayah is open, pick it. If it's not, pick Kai'Sa. If that's not open, then we have to figure something out.
Then you're picking Veigar. That's what happened, right? That's
then I go Veigar or Jhin or something wacky. But in this year in meta, it has been. I mean, Aphelios has been really OP most of the year, but it has been like a lot different and a lot of. I mean, I haven't liked it personally. I liked last year a lot more.
More skill expression, I guess.
Yeah, I think so, because I mean, playing Aphelios, like once you learn the champion, it's really unskilled in a way. I mean, it takes skill to master, but once you master it, it looks really unskilled to play. But yeah, I prefer the AD carries with dashes and outplay potential, and Saya Kaiser is like perfect for that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to play fucking Ashe. I want to play Saya.
But like, how do you feel about his like level right now? Like, are you worried about, like, do you think he'll pick it up? Do you have that confidence where like, no, he'll be like a really good player in playoffs and worlds?
I think so, yeah. And even if he doesn't, I don't think he will be a big enough liability for his team towards. Just when I look at the other teams, I think if he's just playing at a good level, they will still come out on top. So, I do believe he will pick it up.
The solo lanes of G2 are going to fucking smurf this playoffs. I guarantee it. Just get
they're
ready.
all just really good. If Wonder is even playing solo queue, then it's just over for everyone else.
Yeah, no, I actually had a cool fact by Wonder, or a cool fact about Wonder from Grabs, that actually they schedule his WoW raids into the actual team schedule. So it's like, okay, Wonder is raiding on these 3 days a week, so we can't do anything on like those nights, schedule the meetings around it. So respect to respect for that team for being so accepting with everything, gotta love it. Do you think G2 is gonna win again? You think that they're most likely gonna win?
I mean, most likely, maybe not as of right now, but I mean, I said from the beginning of the year, I think they will win both splits, and yeah, I still think so.
Who has the best chance out of Mad Lions and Rogue to beat them?
It's got to be Mad Lions.
I mean, depends if they play on stage or not, but either way, like, I actually don't know if that's released yet, but
I don't know what knows as far as I know, yeah.
I think they're playing in the studio. It was like in a video, but I do believe G2 will win, and I can agree Mad Lions will have the biggest chance. I think Rogue, once they get figured out a bit more, they will... Because, I mean, they're not bad. They're really solid at what they do, Rogue, but I also think they do kind of the same every game.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
So...
I mean, there's some insane stat where Rogue is like 0-8 all-time versus G2. Like, they've never beat G2 in a game, period.
Oh, right. Specifically head-to-head there, as well, right?
Yeah. It's a ridiculously...
In that case, it has to favour Mad Lions, didn't it? When how many wins they've gotten over them over the years, yeah.
I feel like Mad Lions is the only team with any confidence versus G2. Because imagine Fnatic versus G2 if they play in this current state. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, they're going to get smashed insanely
Especially
hard.
Because, remember, Fnatic's the team where... You know what? I'll even tie it in. I don't think it's as extreme, but I actually think Fnatic also has some of the same problems as TSM because they've got similar, like... I'll just say, I think, a bad fan base generally. Like, that doesn't mean all Fnatic fans are bad, but if you're someone who gets mad about that, you're almost certainly one of the bad ones. So there's an easy way to distinguish that in it. So what I'll say is this. In Fnatic, you're also going to get flamed to fuck by your own fans if you do badly. Like, oh, what a surprise. They're also the top laner. Bwipo gets fucking flamed every game. Now, the problem with that is, right, I'd agree this split, he's had a lot of bad games. But, dude, they used to flame him back when he was, like, one of the fucking Band-Aid fixers last year. He was actually playing well. Like, certain people, like these teams, it's way too harsh. Because think about it, right, G2 and Cloud9, people might meme that you did badly, but they still support you. So I think also Fnatic, that's another reason why when these teams go bad, it gets really bad in my opinion.
The TSM of Europe. That's what they are.
I mean, it's also easier when you're inting and you're still winning the championships.
Yeah.
Then it's a lot different.
But that's what you have to give credit for Cloud9, right? Because they didn't win championships for a long time, and they always had like the respect within the organization that, like, they had their players back. It's just a different vibe when you come into a loss and you talk to Jack and then you talk to Reggie. Like, there's one that you feel much more comfortable with.
You go in and Jack's like, listen, he'll be okay, son. Next year we'll get him. Reggie's like, I'm not contractually obliged to hug you. Like he's just reading out and he's like, do you remember the clause in your contract that said the TSM could terminate you for any reason at any time? Okay, well, we're going to be activating this clause. Like, it's really fucking brutal. Here's the thing that sucks as well, Dom, is because you both know this, but in the off season, I've mentioned this before, I actually met with someone from TSM and they were picking my brain, and I said to them, what you need to do in TSM is foster a culture where there's stronger relationships between people within the org. They totally misunderstood what I meant. I meant the players in the team, the starting It's an easy mistake to make.
Happens.
Too subtle on that one.
So we did a U for NA. Who do you think is going to win NA, Kobbe? If you had to guess, You think Cloud9 will win again? Do you think TL is gonna somehow win? I really hope we don't send TL as our like first seed. Like, yep, this.
Really? Are they not good?
I have no confidence in them.
15-3.
He means in like internationally, he thinks they won't be.
Yeah.
Well, I hope they send. Wait, did they ask for Worlds or who's gonna win?
Who's gonna win? But you can also do Worlds.
I think Cloud9 is gonna win still. Yeah, I have the most faith in them. But it's always nice to see someone else win. But I like Cloud9, so. And for Worlds, Liquid, Cloud9, TSM, I guess, would be the best.
You don't want to see TSM in Worlds, let's be real. You'd love to see Flycourse just beat them out in like lower bracket. That's
they're
fun.
doing better without me already, so why not just go to Worlds?
Oh yeah.
I mean, they also made other changes.
Yeah, it's the other way around. It's like I've always said, you want them to go to Worlds, Dom, because then it's funnier to laugh at them when they fail at Worlds. Like, why would you want them to fail in NA? They did that with him. Like, you want them to go to Worlds and then literally go into that. Like, listen, I want them to go to Worlds, but also have a nice little like spark and form towards the end of the summer split, and maybe finish second or third, looking pretty good. The boot camp's going great. You know that because accidentally someone leaks a scrim where they're like winning against the Korean team, because that always fucking happens when NA teams go to Worlds, because you're all little rats. But anyway, so they leak the scrim, all the fans are getting hyped. Oh my God, BrokenBlade, I've always loved him and thought he was totally worth an import slot. This is going to be awesome. We are going to Smurf on Worlds. And then I want them to get that fucking group. I want them to have that group where, since they're going to be second or third seed, I want them first seed China, second seed Korea, and then their wildcard team, just give them like the best team for fucking LMS or something. Like, and that's what I want. And then in that scenario, I just sit back. I've got the Fritos. I'm just doing this for Americans now. I don't eat fucking Fritos. Don't have to sell me. I got Fritos. I've got the fucking Mountain Dew. I'm going full game here.
We don't eat Fritos
either. Even though I'm not American, so I'm not circumcised, I don't have to put a fucking artificial lubricant on my dick to enjoy my I can use what God gave me, that little sheath, But anyway, and then I'm just going to enjoy the game.
I mean, I generally want to see them do well. Like I like the guys, like Perkz and BrokenBlade, even Trees as well.
Suffer.
But yeah, of course, there's a salty part of me as well that I got kicked after one split that doesn't want to see it. But I don't know what to call it. My human side wants to see some of the guys do well.
Yeah,
tap into that.
I like the elevation in his voice when he said that. He's like, and I also fucking hate them and want them to fail. But
yeah, exactly.
Bjergsen and BrokenBlade are pretty cool guys,
That's like the raging beast that only gets activated when he hits that third item in the game. Before that, he has to hold it back and pretend like, oh, no, I'm just a team player. No, you guys take all the resources. I've got my power spike now, motherfucker. He just unleashes at that point in time. It's like an anime or something.
Yep,
exactly.
That's AD carry.
That's my secret.
That's the thing people don't know is this. AD carries love to say like, oh, other people should shot call and all this, because obviously they can't have that much impact early game. But I'll tell you what, this is why I've always been fine with Doublelift being mad selfish at certain points when he's good, is if you're the AD carry and you hit those items, everyone better start fucking listening, because now I actually can win this game, so you better come where I say and go where I say and take the fights that I say, because it's going to be on me to win them. So at that point in time, it's totally reasonable to make demands, I think.
Exactly, like the more agency you have, the more you should talk and like tell what you want. And as an AD carry, early game, you are stuck in your lane farming.
Don't say a word.
You don't have too much agency in the game, right?
The only thing I want to hear,
and jungle are roaming the map, so
the only thing I want to hear out of AD carry in the early game is like is the support ask him, how much gold until BF? And then just be like, oh, I've got like 1150 right now. One more wave. Like, that's all I want to hear from the AD carry. Like, besides for that, shut your fucking mouth. Just follow the ganks, and then that's it.
And just explain why you won't be grouping, because you need that extra wave, because you're just calculating an item. That's the other thing.
Mid-game, you're like farming a bit. You're like a bit quiet. There's a wave. There's a camp. And I'm like, guys, 500 gold onto my item. And then when you get the item, guys, I have fucking 3 items. I'm going to carry the whole game now. Tanks in the front. Don't go in. Just tank for me. Like, then you just tell everyone what to do, basically, when you know you're strong enough to carry the game.
Yeah. I always feel like that's the best part about like how the game should work, and that's why I always hated this idea of like having a shot caller on your team. Like, that's such an archaic idea. And I remember when I used to play, that was like, because High was known as like the shot caller, there was like, we need a shot caller on every team, and because I was like the captain of my team or whatever, they kept on trying to be like, you need to be the shot. It's like, no, the motherfuckers like at the end of the game who can one shot people like me should be calling how they want to play the team fight out. Like, that's how I feel like the game should progress. It's like junglers should talk the most early and then like the least later on, It's
actually hilarious, because even when people disagree with this, it's like, I've put it into theory many times. Like, if someone didn't listen or doesn't agree, I'm like, guys, look at this. Look at this. I woke up with Caitlyn with my rapid fire cannon. I crit someone for 800, and then they're like, holy shit. Okay, guys, play around this guy. He's really strong. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Dom, the player, like, I haven't heard it in any interviews, but I guarantee you the player deep down that fucking Doublelift misses the most is Impact, mate. That guy's entire career is like, can I peel for you, sir? It's like, go ahead. If you're the fucking AD carry, like, mate, he's going to miss that guy.
Yeah. I mean, I think Impact just in general is like so solid. Like he's just such a fucking solid player.
Well, his mental is amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's been in NA for how long, and he still hasn't caught the NA virus that it took Ruin like a third of a split to catch. So it's always good to see players that are resilient to the bullshit that you have to deal with over here. I mean, Kobbe was here. He knows what that shit's like.
Awkward saying all that here now. Here, dude. Like.
I mean,
that was unintentional. That was friendly fire by accident. There. You just sprang away and you were in a crowd.
I mean, realistically though, like, do you feel like NA just makes players worse? Like the combination of the ping and like just the worst quality teams. Like, do you feel like you got worse when you came here? Like, do you feel like you're playing better now than you were for that split?
It's so hard to answer, but yeah, like the solo queue, kind of. I mean, you just play at higher ping, so. All your combos are not as clean as they are when you're coming straight out of Korean bootcamp, for example. And it's like, depending on champions as well. But I think just overall, like, the level of the league is, like, you're playing at a lower level, so it's hard. Like, when I came off Worlds, it was, like, hard for me to keep the same level because the overall level was lower. And that's just always gonna be like it. Like, if I go into solo queue game with only gold players, it's hard for me to play like a challenger if my
so that's what NA challenger is to you, just gold players. Excellent. NA challenger is EU gold. You heard it here
to
first.
Be fair, Dom, like people don't exactly think of Kobbe as the most decorated European player, right? But by making round of 8 of Worlds once, he already matched TSM's entire org accomplishments in the history of Worlds. So there's an EU gap for you right there, mate.
Yep, it's true. I mean, they did make it out of groups how many times? Twice, but I think one of the times they were seeded out.
Oh yeah, you're right. Season 2 the way,
sure. Yeah. But
got that going, I guess.
Did you feel? I guess when we're still talking about that, did you feel like the ping makes you less confident in your own mechanics? Because that was something that I heard from Closer when he was on our show. Is that like when you're playing Lee Sin with 70 ping, you just don't feel like you're as good at Lee Sin anymore. Like, did you ever feel that as an AD carry where you're like, shit, like, I don't know, man. Like,
well, when you play on stage or like online, like the actual games, the ping is fine. Yeah. So, but going into those games, I'm fine. But yeah, if I go solo queue and I play Ezreal, then it just feels off. Like I'm lagging.
Yeah. But like, I guess the question would be like, did it affect your confidence at all going into like pro games? Because some players like need to like feel confident in their abilities in solo queue to actually be able to translate it.
Definitely has something to say, because around playoffs I like to spam the game a lot and just get confident on whatever champion I'm gonna play. So I couldn't, like, I didn't want to spam the game because I felt like if I spam the game in EU or in Korea, I feel like I'm actually at least maintaining my level or getting better. Mostly I am improving, because otherwise I'm wasting my time. But yeah, I didn't really have the same. I feel like spamming the game there didn't really help too much. So yeah.
I guess one question that I had here is, like, you've played a lot of seasons now, right? Like, I think this is your 5th season that you've competed in. Do you, I mean, a lot of people get burnt out from playing the game so much. Like, do you have your own way that you like determine how much you're going to play? Like, do you take like breaks? Like, how do you maintain like a high level for so long? Because, players like G2, you talk about them, they're always going to all these international events, or like when there was international events. So they had, an idea of like, okay, we like don't try that hard in spring, and then we start amping it up towards like MSI, and then we chill out in summer, and then we amp it up again towards Worlds. Do you have anything like that you do to like, maintain such a high level for so long? Or are you just like a grinder where you just play the game a fuck ton all the time?
No, I mean, it comes and goes. Like, I'm not spamming the game year round, and that's why I'm able to put up with it like year after year, because a lot of players think you need to spam solo queue in off season, and you need to spam solo queue throughout the whole split because you're playing every week. But for most players, that doesn't work. Like, you get burned out, or you're just playing mindlessly over and over. And when I take breaks, I take breaks, like I don't touch the game. But then after a few weeks, I kind of have to again. It wasn't until this year, like right now I'm feeling extremely burned out compared to any other season, mainly because I didn't really have a break at all. Like since after Worlds, my off season started 2 days after. I went boot camping with TSM. I got kicked. I was stuck there. So I wouldn't really say that was time off because I'm on my PC the whole day anyway with no one to interact with. And I came straight here to EU, play Summer Split. And this year has just been like too much, I think, which is why I really need a break now. But just choosing when you're grinding and when you're chilling. Don't just grind 24/7 every day off season as well. Unless that's how you work. Maybe
even though you've been to Worlds a couple of times, you've even made it out of groups only because you got a bullshit group. What about this? Like, how do you actually see your career?
Really bad.
Listen, oh, did you beat FPX and finish first? My mistake, man. I thought you were second in all the other teams.
Well, we beat them one game. So.
Yeah, Busy Chachi did. Yeah, you're right. Right, the question is this. Listen, I've always got the counters, mate. You have to understand. So, the question is this, though, right? You're only, in theory, a few years into your career. You can still play many more years, you know. But I always want to know, like, where people's sense is. Because obviously, like, Busy Chachi's a good example. He's retired already. Like, he's finished with his career.
Yeah, he's so old, right? Like 27.
Where are you at in your career? Where are you at in your career? In as much as, like, I know, for example, one of the reasons why Upset is so upset actually about how this split went is in those past years, yeah, he was thinking of it like, yeah, you know, I'm on the rise, I have to pay my dues, I have to be in these like okay teams. But then he thought this was his chance to be in a top team now. Like, right, now's my time to win, you know, now I should be in a top 3 team. I should have the good teammates. Like, I want Dardoch, I want these fucking good players. So it feels like, oh, fuck, am I never going to get to that point? In your career, like, are you going to play for many, many more years? Are you someone who's trying to be a bit ruthless and see if you can get into top team? Where do you envision the future for Kobbe?
I thought of this as late of yesterday, right? Since the season ended. I played in the Splice for 4 years, and before this year, this was the time when I'm like, okay, I did my work. Now I actually have a chance to get into a top team. Not in EU, but in NA at least. And that chance was I got into a top team, but we got 4th place. I got kicked, and now I'm not even in playoffs. So that's like a really big fall down, I would say, and makes it hard for me to think what's going to happen now, because now I feel like I have to start from scratch again with like a new lineup, work my way back up again. And that's what feels really awful, because like while I was doing that earlier, I still feel like I was doing really well, and I was getting closer to winning. And now it's just
that's if I kind of right, yeah,
kind of, yeah. Like I got the chance that I was waiting for years, and it didn't pay off. Yeah. So what now?
Another thing as well, by the way, if you look at all the people that have been in TSM where it didn't work out, that's also the thing that seems to like be really depressive. Is it's like the concept, you know, the term Kobbe called poison chalice. It's the idea that someone gives you something that looks really good, but if you drink it, it's poison, so you die. So it's like you can't resist doing it because you're like, fuck, look at this, but then it wrecks you. So that's the other thing about joining TSM. Everyone hopes when they join TSM, they're going to be the ones that win all the championships and go to Worlds. So if it doesn't happen, it feels even worse.
Yeah, exactly. Especially also because I gave so much up. Like I had at least a decent place to stay in EU. And
you had to give up. Did you take your girlfriend with you or something? Did she stay in Europe or did she come with you?
No, she was with me throughout.
Fair enough. You didn't have to give that up. Okay.
No, she was down with that. And even if she wasn't, like, if I was gonna take a chance like this, I was gonna do it, right? Because this is not something that happens that often. And I'm just really fucking sad it didn't work out, because when I looked at the roster, I thought winning NA it was actually really doable, and it just looked different than being someone EU. I'm like, okay, I have to beat G2 or Fnatic, who are they're winning every single year, every single split, and it just always feels like such a big challenge. So it felt like it was my time to be on that side where everyone's looking up to you and you are the guy who's gonna win, but
here's the thing, Kobbe. What you need to do, mate, I'll give you your career path here. You've just got to chill. Just keep playing your game. Keep doing all right. I don't give a fuck what your team does, because you're in Misfits at the moment. You're ready, right?
It's like, again, he already hates it, man.
The reason why you got to chill and just keep doing what you're doing is because eventually one Swedish crybaby is going to go ahead and retire. And you know what? You can literally be like, would you like the Danish player version of him? And you're just suited straight in there. You are the next Reckless Mate. So when Fnatic comes looking, they got caps instead of expecting.
It's not happening anytime soon. I don't know if you've seen the meta, Thorin, but it's the tier meta right now. You're not replacing Reckless anytime soon. So.
He often builds tier anyway, you know.
No, I mean,
the irony is he sells all his items and just buys tiers at the end of the game, doesn't he? Toxic player. We found him eventually. There we go.
Oh my god. I mean, it's just really fucking hard because, like, it's always the same. Like, I hear, oh, you did so well, but I'm like, no, I didn't do well enough, obviously. And they're like, oh, you did good, but your team was not good enough, or it's always the same I hear, and maybe there's some truth to it. I know I can always do more if I'm not by far the best player. So
compliments do soccer when they're like that, though, aren't they? Yeah. Where it's like trying to like make you feel better. They never really like. You like the intention of the other person. Only. It doesn't help though, does it? It just makes you feel like, yeah, it fucking sucks, though, doesn't it?
And that's why even now, like, go ahead.
No, but even people don't get this. Even saying to someone, because I know fans always do it on Twitter, even if you say to the guy, like, no, you were really good, it was just your teammates so bad, that doesn't make them feel good either. Because then even if it's true, they're like, fuck yeah, my teammates suck. Like, that's almost worse in some ways.
Exactly, and that's what I never want to fall into this, where I just say I'm the best and my teammates just suck. Like, I never say this at all, because I always believe I can do more. But it feels worse and worse every time it happens. If I do well, and now like I don't even want to respond to my parents, which I'm really close with, because it's just so much disappointment that I know they have good intentions and they want the best for me, but I just cannot mentally bear hearing someone say, I think you did really well, you deserved more. It just really fucking sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what it comes down to is like, who's gonna pick up the pieces? Because there's Kobbes in other teams, right? There's the Kobbe of top lane right now. Over in Origin, just got 10th place, right? Like I mean, somebody's got to just pick it all back up, you know, put it all together. You have other teams, you have the pieces there, but it's up to one of the GMs to really find them all, I guess. That's what I would say. But
also, I actually think from this conversation, dude, it's actually obvious to me what your number one priority has to be. In as much as you can, like, you're not the GM of your team, you know, you can only give suggestions. But based on this conversation, one of the main things you need to do is think. I don't know what the contract status is, but think about who your support's going to be, because it sounds like you need a specific type of support, or they have the right mindset or style of play. And if they complement you well, then that's when you're at your best.
I mean, I just want to build help build the strongest team I can, and go again, try to beat the best. And
I would just suggest you stay away from Jack Troll. That's the one piece of
yeah. Please don't. You saw what he did to Upset, man. You don't want it to be you too.
Yeah. You don't want to join that list of victims.
Yeah. I don't think I've been, just as an aside, I don't think I've been as angry as a viewer watching a game as when Jack Troll stole that Karthus.
Exactly.
The Karthus R is on the guy, and he steals it with the tongue. The Tom Kench steals it. Like, I know. I literally looked at it. It made me physically angry. I was like, what the fuck? Like, this guy is actually trolling on stage. Like, fire him. Like, immediately. Like, what is that shit? Like, how the fuck are you allowed to do that in a pro game? Like, that is reportable to the next level. Like, I would never stop typing in a solo queue game if that shit happened.
He's like the guy who just burns a flash to, like, kill steal from you. Like, really, dude? Like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, as the
fucking he's doing it on stage.
Yeah, and Karthus, like, anyone who plays Karthus knows how bad it feels to use that ult and not get a kill with it. Or, like, not get an assist even. And when you have a guaranteed kill, and it's like, come on, man, like, funnel the kills into me, like, I'll carry the game. Watch Korean teams play it. Like, look at what happens when Canyon plays it. It's like, when Canyon's playing Karthus jungle, everyone's, like, lowering everyone to the perfect HP. They're like, okay, that guy's in range. Okay, this guy's in range. All right, nice. We get, like, triple kill with this ultimate. They're, like, all trying to funnel it. And then you have fucking Jack Troll tongue lashing this shit. Like, he didn't even let the mid laner get it, the 80k. Like, he fucking took that shit as Tom Kench. That deserves a report. I hope I never see this guy in LEC ever again. Like, I am so tired of watching this guy play.
That's a yellow card at least. Minimum, that's a yellow card. I'm giving him that.
Yeah, no, that's a fucking red card. You're thrown out of the game. Like, I don't care.
Bring the double T, he's out.
Yeah, that's a double technical foul. Yeah, no, fuck it. Like, put the other guy at the line. I don't care. Like, this is just too much for me, man. I literally couldn't handle that shit. Did you see the play, Kobbe? You see what I thought?
I remember it, but I only remember it, like, vaguely.
Yeah.
So
I'll refresh your memory after we're done with this. I'll send it to you just so you can feel what I felt.
I know how it is. Like I even did it in solo queue myself at some point, cause I mean it's a solo queue game and I want the kill, right?
You're an AD carry. You're an AD carry. You're not a top catch.
Like, my jungle Karthus was spam pinging me and writing some really dumb stuff to me just because of that, you know. So,
of course.
I get it.
Yeah. No.
I bet you would do the same to me.
Oh, 100%. I just can't help myself. Like if I see that shit, I'm like, no.
That's the thing I don't think people understand, is it's not one or the other. Dom isn't like playing a fucking method acting job now and seems like a cool guy in shows, and then in solo queue he's an arsehole. It is both, you idiots. How have you still not figured this out? People have dimensions to themselves. So listen, absolutely understand. If Dom goes back and does an EU bootcamp, he is going to flame the fuck out of some people he was really nice to on this show to get to solo queue.
Actually,
100%.
most of the players are the players that I get along with. I like good players, right? Like on my team. If I get Jack Troll on my team, dude, I actually felt bad because I remember there was one game, like Jack Troll was super high LP when I was in EU, and I was grinding. I actually played with Kobbe a couple times too, but
I mean, you just have to do well. Like if I don't do well in game, you can be sure that someone will tell me, "Oh, you fucking suck. Like can't even make playoffs." Like they don't care who you are for most of the time.
Yeah, so. But I just remember I had a game with Jack Troll where he made me feel bad. I didn't even flame Jack Troll. He like ran it down as a game. He was ranked 5 at the time or something, and he was just apologizing in chat the whole game. He's like, "Oh my god, guys, I'm so sorry. I'm playing so bad this game." I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, I'm like, I can't even go in on this guy. Like, you know, he's beating himself up more than I could. So I didn't have anything to say.
Listen, you got to just level up your skills, Dom. When they say like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," like, fucking stop apologizing and get the fuck out the game.
I can't do it.
That was another layer, you know.
That's what gets me. It's like,
so sorry, don't queue again. There you go. Yeah. Do me a favor. Say you're going to give me a blackout period tonight. Get the fuck out this server now.
That's the counter. That's the counter to flamers. If you start flaming yourself before I can even flame you, then it's just.
That's a secret move. 8 Mile style.
Yeah, it's just fucking done for me then. But yeah, shit. I mean, this was actually one of our longer episodes. Normally we open it up.
Waiting for the 3-item power spike for Kobbe here. You know, at the end, maybe he's got like a.
Hey, I thought it was a good fucking episode.
Is there anything we didn't talk about, mate? Like, here's the key thing: is there anything you wanted to set straight, or some angle that people have on you that's bullshit? Or something? Is there anything you want to say?
Not to anything. I mean,
did you get it all out?
I thought you said there was like you wanted to talk about my previous years or something, but I guess we kind of did that in some way.
It's mixed in there, yeah.
But no, from recent, like I think we got the TSM stuff out of the way, the Dust Nick, the Misfits this split. I think I talked about what I wanted to for that at least.
Well, I guess we will conclude the episode here. Thank you for coming on. I wish you good luck. I hope you get your redemption arc coming here soon. Definitely one of the better AD carries in Europe for the last few years, or maybe even like half a decade now. So solid performance from you. Hope you enjoyed your time on the show. Thank you for everyone that came out and watched it. I am going to be ending the stream here soon, and we'll be back next week for the Crackdown. It'll be episode 30 of the Crackdown, so 30 of these with Thorin. I still didn't get replaced. Hey, I made it. I got to beat Loco and Veteran. You know, we'll see when I get fired. So
helps that Froggen's not an active player anymore, so just take all those problems off the table. No, doesn't need to be any hurt feelings.
Yeah, we'll see if we can make it to 40, boys. All right, thank you guys for watching. See you guys later.